Well, hey, what's going on, everybody?
Looks like we got the lights right.
Friday night. Yeah.
Lights are right.
I guess so.
Yeah.
We're just kind of, well, like I said, we're still kind of farting around with them.
And we're crooked. Okay.
Yeah, that always happens.
Yeah.
Even though I never go over there and touch that. I don't know how it happens, but, you know. But yeah, so hey, it's Friday night, time for the Sidetracks show. This is always fun and relaxed, because I don't have to go anywhere tomorrow, and we can just, we're not going anywhere tonight either, so we're just going to sit around and drink.
Yep. So we're going to introduce y'all to the weekend.
Weekend.
Yeah, there's the weekend. You worked all week, and now Friday night, so hopefully you won't have to work. Although, shit, I imagine most people have to work whenever they're told to work. Probably working on Saturday, too.
Yeah.
But,
well, I usually end up working on Saturday,
yeah,
too, as well.
Weekend is here. And we're already started on some grapefruit and vodka. Got red grapefruit.
Yeah, Tom got the ruby red grapefruit, and I hadn't had that in a long time, and that's just really good.
Yeah, I know. I saw it there, and I was going, you know, that looks good. And that was a dollar store brand.
Huh?
Pretty good, huh?
It's good because it's not super acidic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I like grapefruit juice a lot, but it's, you know, it's not like real tart.
It was kind of like a half-gallon size container.
They got some good.
They only
shit
wanted
out
like
there.
$3 for it, so I said I'll try it.
Like I said, I can't even remember the last time we had grapefruit juice and vodka.
So we're gonna. Looks like everybody's already in here.
Damn.
Yeah, I've got a huge crowd just pouring in. Bathhouse Zach showing up. John's showing up.
That's your name from now on. I hate to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna tell me bathhouse stories.
We should do a whole show about bathhouse stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any personally because I've never been to one, but
yeah, we'll put Gavin Friday on in the back.
That's another song. That's another song I need to put on your playlist. I forgot.
Yeah, I gotta put Angel on there
because I think I had it on your old one, but when I went because I used to have Pandora and now I have Spotify. Yeah. I had it on your Pandora list, but not on the. I forgot about it. I didn't put it on the Spotify because I was asking you the other day. Well, what other songs you wanted on your Spotify? And all you said was you wanted some more Iron Maiden.
I wanted more Judas Priest.
Oh, Judas Priest. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put some Judas Priest on there. Put some Merciful Fate on there.
Okay. I mean,
I'll tell you which ones to put on.
Maybe tomorrow, like if we go to the bookstore tomorrow, maybe I will end up getting that Rob Halford autobiography.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I still got all those coupons because I got the Books A Million membership.
Yeah. So
it's like I might as well get it while I'm, because I kind of want to read it. I mean, I have like a pile of books I got to get through, but you know. Camp Guy said, I had someone recognize y'all's genetic replicant more human than human t-shirt today. He was working at Costco. Yeah. I always like when that happens.
What happens? He saw it because I know where that came from?
Right, yeah. Well, cool. See, what you always know that's like going to be a friend for life.
What did he say about the show?
Zach said I was actually, no, he probably just didn't recognize the show as much as recognize where, right.
Yeah, okay.
Zach says, I was actually reading up about bathhouses because I was bored once, and it was legit super interesting. Yeah, I always thought, like, the history of them was super interesting. That might actually be, like, an interesting show to do, maybe.
So, you're just saying you just went there to get pampered, right? Like a spa. Just lay back and put a hot towel on your face. Giving you pedicure and shit.
You know, I have never been, in all my nearly 51 years of life, I have never been to a spa. Like I never had like a facial. I never had a pedicure or nothing like that.
Well, you know that girl who was fucking escorting, she was working out of a damn fucking spa.
Yeah. So we always kind of wonder. So so this is kind of funny. I don't think we've told this story before.
You could get a happy ending at the spa. Full service at the spa. She'd just fucking shut the door. She'd be in there and she'd let you fucking slam away at her as long as you didn't make any noise. And I don't think the other girls there didn't even know what was going on. But she was doing it out of a spa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's why. So every time we go to the Chinese buffet or the movie theater where the Lake Square Mall is, right across the street from the mall
Yeah.
is like this little kind of strip mall or like a bunch of little shops and stuff. And there's like a massage parlor over there. And we're kind of wondering, is that like a legit massage parlor? Are there such a thing as legit massage parlors? Or are they all... I was like, because the
I think
windows...
they're mostly rub and tugs.
Right, it's like, because the windows are always like tinted, you know what I mean? So
There's
you
never
can't like
anybody
look...
in the parking lot.
And that was another thing we noticed. It's like, because Tom's always making a joke about, hey, let's pop in there and get a rub and tug or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just
Get a
kind of
happy
like,
ending.
yeah. And it's like, I was like, one, if that's a legitimate place of business, they probably get really sick of like at least one person a day coming in and ask them for a happy ending. They're like, we don't do that, okay? Or if it really is that, I have legitimately never seen a car in that parking lot.
Yeah, I know.
Like
they're in the parking lot next to it.
That's what we were suspecting. So I was like, it doesn't look like it's closed. It looks like it's still like operating.
Yeah.
But there's never anybody parked there. You never see anybody going in or out.
Yeah.
And so Tom's like, well, maybe people don't want to be seen going in there, so they park in the like barber shop or whatever, next door.
They're parking in the other side.
But we never see anybody walking
there.
over there. It's the weirdest thing ever.
That way, you know, if the dude's wife drives by and sees the car, what's the car doing there? You know,
Is he getting rub and tug?
you're like, yeah,
That motherfucker.
yeah. She comes in. Where is that motherfucker?
He's sitting there with his food. Little Chinese lady has his dick in her hand. But yeah, so I don't know. One of these days we might get curious enough to go over there and see what the deal is. But it's just like I never see anybody in the parking lot. It's like really, really weird.
It's probably some old Chinese woman working out of there.
Maybe.
With like mysterious fucking Chinese girls in the background. That's probably what it is.
Mysterious Chinese girls in the
Yeah,
background.
these little faces popping out. Yeah, it's probably what it is.
Well, where I grew up, like not too far from where I grew up in Daytona, there was a place, I can't remember what the name of it was. It had like a funny name, I remember, but it was for sure like a rub and tug.
Yeah.
You could just tell by looking at the outside of the place.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like super
Florida's real tolerant
scuzzy.
of that shit. They okay, you know,
it's kind of a trashy place, Florida.
they know about it. They don't really, they only busted one. Fucking right across from Koi Wan, in the mall across the street from from the mall that Koi Wan is in.
Yeah.
They had a big bust in there about 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, it was a massage spa, but they had like about 12 Chinese girls living in there, in each little masseur's room. They lived in there. I think it was mostly Chinese girls. Some of them were American girls living in there.
Yeah.
And you know, giving happy endings and shit. But they busted that place. They made it too obvious. Too many of them, and they were living in there.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think if you were going to do... Because technically
Yeah.
that's not legal.
No.
So,
Well, that's a brothel.
right. You kind of have to make it look like...
You have to make it look like it's only
A
open for
legitimate
business. They're not living in
business.
there, yeah.
But like I said, I always got the impression when I was growing up, and like I said, maybe it's because I grew up in Daytona, which is like super trashy, but it's like I always got the impression that every single like massage place you saw was that.
Yeah,
I didn't think
are.
there was any like normal one.
I've never been in one. I think they are.
I've never been in one either. I mean, why would I go?
I always assume that they're, one, expensive, two, illicit.
Yeah.
And you go in there and they're going to look at you sideways and ask you a bunch of weird questions, try to figure out who you are. How do you know about this place? That kind of shit. I always felt that it would be uncomfortable to go in there.
We should like wear a wire and go in there and see what's
No.
going on. Just out of curiosity, I just wanted to know. Maybe some of them are legit. Well, here's the thing, because we have friends who are a couple, and they are both massage therapists.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're like legit massage therapists, like, you know, in the sense of people that get like injured and then, you know, they're
Yeah.
trying to get back. So they, you know, they have their tables and they go to the people's houses and try to get all their muscles back up to speed and everything like that. So I think she gets kind of mad because
Every now and then she
because every now and then she does get asked to do that, and she's
Yeah.
like, look, well, I'm like a legitimate massage therapist, like
Yeah.
I'm licensed and everything, and it's just, you know what I mean. And so it's like, I'm sure you get like fucking chodes every now and then that fucking ask that.
Yeah, but I'm also sure that they're licensed massage therapists that give happy endings too.
Well, yeah,
a
that's
great
what I'm
cover.
saying. I always thought that
Yeah.
that's what all of them were.
Yeah.
You know. Because I thought like a massage therapist, they would, if you're a legit massage therapist, they'd probably call the business something else.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they would, if you wanted to get into the rub and tug business, you'd go ahead and get your credentials as a licensed massage therapist first. Yeah. So you have it covered.
You're like, what? I'm just
and then,
massaging.
You have your regular customers. And you say, oh, by the way, I offer for my very special customers, here's my fucking special menu here, you know.
And you have to like, I would love to say like if they would come up with like really weird like euphemistic names for all this stuff, because everybody knows what a happy ending is. Right. So you probably have to come up with something like different. Wink, wink. You know what I mean?
Murder Hornets is there. What do they say?
Welcome to Flashbulbs. Oh, so you joined again. Yeah. He joins sometimes and then not. John Gora said William Friedkin, R.I.P. Yeah, he just died last week, I think. Had a funny bathhouse story. He was trying to secure an authentic location for cruising. Oh, that's a good movie. I just watched that not too long ago, actually. At this old wise guy's house, and they had to take it outside because the place was bugged. Yeah, that's right. I remember hearing about that. That's a good movie, actually, Cruising. Zach says, oh, they do facials at the bathhouse, too, but I don't think they're the kind you're looking for. I thought that, too, like, as soon as I said it. Yeah, I don't necessarily want a facial like that. At least not from, like, fucking strangers, right?
Yeah.
That would be a little bit weird.
Not even on video, you're wasting.
It's like that one video we were watching the other day. Who was that? What porn star was that? The one that had the dudes, like, just spoonging all over her face?
This was been a long time ago.
No, it wasn't. It was just, like, a week or two ago.
That's a long time ago for me.
It's not a long time ago.
I don't remember who that was.
I don't remember. Maybe it was Sophie D or somebody like that. We were watching a couple of those, and you were like,
yeah. Yeah, I think it was Sophie D or something. That's just typical shit that they do. Studio porn star chicks. That's just part of their deal.
Well, yeah, they just had like this whole ring of dudes coming.
Yeah, they just do that. That's part of the job description.
Jack it off on.
They do that and then forget about it. They're even like, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Well, they probably do it so many times.
So many times.
Kind of like
fucking whores.
What are you talking about? You love it. You love whores.
They fucking forgot about it.
I'd forget about it too if that happened to me.
Yeah.
John Smith said, what if someone goes in with a sports injury? They may be shocked. See, that's what I'm kind of wondering. I mean, I'm sure if you were operating in an illicit business like that, I would imagine that you would have to have like a cover of like a legitimate business. So if somebody just came in cluelessly and was just like, hey, I tore my rotator cuff or whatever, and it's like they need like actual legit massage stuff, like people would do that. But it's like you kind of know the type of person that comes in like kind of looking shifty and whatnot. And like you're like, oh, this person looks like they want the special services.
Yeah.
I would think. I don't know. I don't run a
that girl that was doing that. That girl that was doing that did it two different ways.
Yeah, because we know we're not going to say what her name. We're not going to say what her name is.
If you saw this girl, you would never suspect her.
Yeah, ever. She's definitely someone you would never ever suspect of doing something.
She
like
looks kind of like.
But she
worked real preppy.
She worked out of a massage parlor.
Yeah, she had. Well, no, it wasn't a massage parlor. It was a spa.
Not a spa. Yeah.
Yeah, she worked out of a spa. She rented like one of the rooms inside of a spa. I think she might have been some kind of massage therapist. And what she would do is she would run, I think back in those days it was a back page ad, or a back page I think is what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
She was running ads about, it's real euphemistic.
Right.
You know what I mean? Come see me at this place, this location, ask for me, and fucking, give you a great fucking rub down, fucking, you'll be very happy in the end, that kind of shit.
You'll be very happy in the end.
Yeah. That was one way she would do it. And she got addicted to the money. And she didn't start there, though. She started in a massage parlor. Yeah. And those girls there taught her how to do it. She was broke at the time, and then she made a lot of money quickly, and then the place got busted, so she fucking ran. Then she got out of there and never went back.
Yeah, she went back to work. It was like an action scene. Yeah. She had to like escape. Like the cops came in the front. She escaped.
Yeah, left her shoes in there and everything.
Yeah. Oh man.
So
we had some weird people.
Yeah.
She's not weird though.
You'd never suspect.
She's actually really normal.
So when I found out, when she told me, my fucking jaw. Well, so then she gets another job at a more reputable place downtown, and used what she learned from them other girls, her fucking ad techniques. And I think it was Backpage what she was using mostly. Yeah. And she'd put euphemistic ads there. Well, these dudes would fucking come up and fucking ask for her.
Yeah.
And they knew the fucking little code words and shit. So she knew where that customer had come from.
Right.
She jerked the dude off. Well, eventually, one of those dudes talked her into fucking full service. He fucked her. So she started off, she said, oh, that wasn't that bad. So she started offering that. Yeah, and that went on for a while.
I can't imagine.
And then when she did that, she started doing Backpage ads where she would rent a motel and hire security, and then fucking run the ad to that motel room online, and I guess do fucking dozens of dudes. And so she said that was like a windfall. She'd make it several thousand a night, many thousands a night. Her prices weren't high either. She was only like $300. But if you looked at her in the escort world, she'd be about an $1,800 a day escort. That's what quality. She undersold herself quite a bit, and she wasn't a drug addict. Normal.
Well, I think that was one of the things about her. It's like she wasn't getting money for drugs. Mm. She was getting money just because she wanted money. She was actually getting money. Well, I don't know if I should say.
No, I don't say it. It was to fuel another business.
Yeah.
In the entertainment business.
Yeah, and like nothing to do with
nothing
sex.
X-rated.
Right.
Yeah. And she was intelligent, good looking, and like middle class to upper middle class. You would never suspect her. And she was like, kind of like a cross between a preppy and a hippie kind of type.
Yeah.
And totally totally naive. She'd been crying to me, I can't understand why I can't get a boyfriend. And I says, what we talk? Well, they don't agree with what I do. And I was like, what, you tell them? It's like, yeah.
Don't tell them that.
Them you're a hooker? Yeah. Wait, is that a problem? I said, you fucking idiot. Don't tell anybody. She thought that, because she was young.
Yeah.
And she just thought that was normal.
I guess to her it was. I don't know. Like I said.
Oh, that's why they treat me that way. Yeah. Yeah, after you tell them that, they treat you like a whore and fucking dump you. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I hate
that's
to
what
tell
you are.
But that's,
You're a hoe.
well, I mean, I hate to tell you, but that's how people are going to perceive you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's correct. I'm not saying that's good. But
that's just life.
But that's the way people are going to treat you.
Yeah, that's life.
And that's the thing. Like, and I don't, I wouldn't want to do it.
Mm.
That's for sure. So in a way, I don't necessarily want to call it admiration, but I am kind of like, well, okay, you do you.
No, most women that are in that are some kind of desperation.
That's what I mean. But people that actually do want to do it are just like, fuck it, I'll just do it for the money. Like, okay, but yeah, if you just do it because it's like that's the only thing you can, that's shitty. Like, because that's kind of like you don't really want to do it, but you just kind of have to.
So my friend in the adult industry knows that industry too. And knows where they all come from and how they get into porn and how they get into streaming and OnlyFans and all that other shit and the tiers of depravity. How it happens.
Tiers of depravity.
It's like tiers of depravity.
That seems like it should be a title for
something.
Yeah.
Write a whole book about it, Jen.
I should.
Yeah. And usually it's always homelessness and drug addiction. That's usually what it is. They don't have a home. They don't have a family.
And like I said, they don't really have a lot of options.
They don't have any options. They can't they kind of get kicked out. And they start off couch surfing in drug houses, drug addict houses, just kind of surfing from one couch to the next. They're kind of just party girls having sex in order to get the drugs that they want. And then they realize they can monetize it. Next thing you know, they're fucking outside the drug house selling it.
Yeah.
on the street to get money to bring in.
Well, because it's going to be like, well, once you've done that, it's like,
Yeah,
well,
no,
you might as well just go to the
Just
next
do that.
step, right?
So then somebody sees them out on the streets and goes, man, you're just giving this shit away for free. Come on, now I'm going to show you how to do this right. And then they pick them up and clean them up and turn them into an escort or a porn star. So that's the weird thing that I wanted to tell you guys earlier. I don't recommend porn at all. Fucking even though me and Jen have done pro-am stuff, no, it's for young people. This is not very healthy. For a lot of times, porn is a step up for these girls.
Yeah.
Not a step down, step up. For the real
Well, at
good
least
ones.
there's some kind of like regulation and oversight.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Because before that, a lot of them were just fucking couch surfing off of through drug houses or street walking at a pretty young age, you know, late teens. So they're dumb to begin with, you know. So some of them, it's porn is a big move up for them, but they never stop. As soon as a woman gets involved in prostitution and realize how easy it is to make money like that, when she's young and good looking, they just can't resist the temptation. So even though they're in porn, they're doing sugaring or they're escorting, because a lot of times the porn is just an advertisement for the escort service.
Yeah.
A lot of times, though. But
and if you do it for long enough, you're kind of gonna be stuck doing it for
Yeah,
forever, because no one's ever really gonna let you do anything else.
that's a wrap.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're gonna be
Still, I mean, there's still, like I said, a big
you're gonna be
stigma
in
about
the
it.
adult industry your whole life, basically. You'll get married, but you'll get married to a dude in the adult industry, and he's probably not one of the stars. He's probably one of the guys behind the cameras. And if you see what those guys look like, but you know.
But at least they have something in common.
somebody in
Like
common,
they
yeah.
know, like you're all on the same page. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they don't take it personally. For them, this is just an activity, and they don't really care. It's like being in the carnival. Now, they're not all like this, but that's kind of traditionally they were like that. That's not the same deal as, say, like some girl doing OnlyFans from her bedroom. You know, that's a totally different.
Yeah, that's what
deal.
I mean. That's kind of like a different.
Yeah.
It's a whole different dynamic,
Right.
really.
It's just like in pro wrestling. There's good girls and bad girls, and good guys and bad guys. Some of those girls are good girls. They're just working from home with a camera. The only thing they have is a hot body. And they know how to run an account, and they know how to run fucking Twitter. And they take videos of themselves doing solo scenes and can do pretty well. Some of them can make six figures. You know, and for an 18, 19, 20-year-old girl, it's a lot of money. Especially if she kind of comes from nothing. But then again, they're doing this shit on OnlyFans, and the world's never really been like this. You got girls that are like that. They're good girls. They got a OnlyFans. She's got gigantic boobs and fucking cute. Well, guess what? She has access to celebrities. Celebrities are seeing those and talking to her. Or dudes over in Dubai, you know, flying her up for the weekend and shit. So the dating scene is real hard for guys in their 20s and 30s right now, because the best of the fucking poor girls are getting sucked up through the internet by dudes in other countries. Used to be a good-looking girl would be the best-looking girl in the town, and only that town would know about her. Now she's on the internet, fucking celebrity will see her and fucking grab her. Or a sports figure.
Yeah, it's
He
pretty.
throws her away when he's done with her, but
Well, that's par for the course.
yeah, because
But I mean, it's just kind of like, yeah, I think it's kind of like unprecedented in history that, you know, you could conceivably just do something in your living room
yeah,
that ends up being seen by like millions of people, like people
Yeah.
from like across the world, like
yeah,
immediately.
millions of
which is
people are
crazy.
seeing it, and thousands of them are fucking guys are making more than six figures, and a few celebrities and guys who have a lot of money in other countries, and they're gonna go, hey, you know what? Why don't you come up? I'll fly you up for the weekend. You know, this is where I live. And they say, yeah. So they do that. The next thing you know, they're escorting, because that's what escorting is. You know, and escorting is hooking. It's the same thing. It's just a more polite way of putting it. It's a different way of getting a hold of that product.
It's just more expensive.
More expensive. More expensive, and it's a girlfriend type experience. But that's not a girlfriend, that's an escort. A real expensive escort, the prices aren't even discussed. If you gotta fucking talk about the price, you can't afford it. And according to my friend Bill, about 70% of those escorts are fool's gold. They're not worth the money. It's kind of a scam.
Fool's gold, like the Elvis sandwich.
No,
That's
fool's
the,
gold.
that's the whole.
It looks like gold, but it's not.
Duh, I know that.
Yeah,
I was making a
no.
joke about the sandwich.
That's, it looks. She looks like she'd be a lot of fun, but no good in bed, or just, other problems, or I mean, if you had to fucking pay her this money to come see you, she's not really into you anyway. Come. She's just there to take selfies on the fucking front of your yacht.
Yeah, I mean that's why I would get not that I
And
would
get her
but I'm
account
just
topped
saying.
up.
Yeah.
She's gonna do the bare minimum she can for you.
Well, you can't blame her really.
Yeah.
It's just like, look, if people are gonna pay like all that
Right.
fucking money and like fly
Yeah.
you around and shit like that, like take advantage. And it's like, why would you like strain yourself if the dude's already paying and if you're already there? Just kind of like, oh yeah, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Whatever. You don't have to like fucking get too. See, you already paid. You already paid.
Yeah.
So you don't got to make too much effort. I'm just saying. Tammy said, or she gets sold into sex labor in the black market. Yeah, that is also a large thing that happens. I've heard a lot of stories. I don't know how common this is. At least
that's real common.
well, at least in the United States. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's common in other countries.
Depends on who you are,
But
what country you're coming from.
yeah, I mean, I have heard stories about people like little rings, like of people that will kidnap, teenage girls and shit like that and sell them. And I'm sure it happens. I just don't know how common it is in the United States.
Those guys that fly American girls up to Dubai for the weekend, they're not going to sell that girl off because she's not worth anything.
No, that wasn't what I was talking about.
He's got so much money. He's like, what? I'm going to get in all this trouble for $10,000? That dude can fucking has $10,000 notes for his toilet paper.
Which is crazy. Yeah, they're talking about Paul Flint and Murder Hornet are talking about anxiety and depression, and Murder Hornet's talking about all the drugs he did in his younger days that gave him the anxiety problems. I'm really glad that, and I don't have, I'm not super judgy about drugs. As long as you can kind of like keep your shit under control and everything like that, I don't really have a problem with people doing them. But I will say that I'm glad that I didn't ever get involved in that kind of shit. And I don't really know anybody that got super involved in it. I did know a couple people that did, but
There's just some of them you can't fuck with.
yeah.
You just can't fuck with heroin.
Right.
Yeah, you're just not gonna really come back from that. I've never seen anybody that's messed around with that and kind of walked away from it.
Yeah, not really. You're just kind of like
too habit forming.
I mean, people do survive it, obviously, because there's a lot of old rock stars.
Yeah, but they never
still...
quite kick, though.
Right.
Even Billy Idol, man, come on.
I wonder sometimes how much they like want to go back to it.
Well, Rich Campbell, my buddy, he was a junkie and till the day he died, till the day he blew his head off, and he never really kicked it. He just would take little vacations.
I've heard that. People that are particularly into heroin, it's like they'll try to get off it, but
yeah, it never really
they
worked.
usually just get sucked back in. Like I said, I don't really know. I've never done it, so I don't really know like what's so fucking awesome about it. But
well, it's probably like a really good form of like Demerol. If you ever had Demerol, you ever had Demerol for like having surgeries?
Yeah, once.
Yeah. It's gonna be something like that, probably a lot better, mixed with opium. I've smoked opium before, but they say that's like nothing compared to heroin. And opium's nice, but very controllable.
I've never had opium.
I probably put opium on par with alcohol in terms of its power, but its effects are a little different. It's just really chilling. It would really chill you out. You could sit there all night, do nothing, and be content.
Paul Flint said, had LSD 8 times, don't do any now, for years.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
Beer only. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I always quite enjoyed it. But like I said, I'm not a big drug person. I don't really. I've smoked pot a few times, but I don't really like it. It makes me feel kind of paranoid. And like, other than that, that's about it. Coke once. Didn't love that. And, yeah, it's something that never really appealed to me. Honestly, I didn't even start drinking until I was older. Like, not regularly, you know? Like, when I was younger, I would have one, like, every now and then, but it wasn't just... Because it wasn't, you know, my family weren't drinkers, so we didn't usually have alcohol in the house, and it just wasn't... It wasn't anything to do with kind of like, oh, we don't have that stuff in the house. It's just like my parents were just not really that into it. Like if they were having people over or something, they'd get beers or wine or something like that. But they didn't have any hard liquor in the house, so it just wasn't something that was, you know, kind of part of it growing up. So I had some when I was a teenager and some when I was in my 20s, but it wasn't really that big a deal. So I didn't really start drinking even until I was older. Let's see. Yeah, Murder Hornet said, I've noticed one night was going to a bad party. Before I went, I did crank pills, coke, and took LSD on the way there. And booze and more pills after. 3 days later, I started having panic attacks. Well, that's not really a big surprise. Honestly, I don't even know. I've heard stories of, like, people that, when they were real young, that did some shit like that, like crazy stories. I'm just like, how the fuck are you even still walking around? That's insane. John Smith said, so has anyone else been following the Lisk arrest? I was following it at first, like when we were doing the show about it, but like last I heard they were digging up some, or they were looking into some Las Vegas murders, which I knew they were going to find some shit there.
Yeah, that's going to be his main hunting ground.
But I haven't been following it since then.
That was a Backpage killer. Is that what they called him? Backpage
the
killer?
Craigslist
killer, yeah.
Or the Craigslist Ripper. That was one of the names for him.
Actually, I think Craigslist is where she would actually advertise a lot of that.
Yeah, they don't. Craigslist is still around, but I don't think people really use it anymore.
Yeah,
because didn't they get rid of the?
They got rid of the personal section.
Yeah,
they got rid of a lot of the sections.
But there was, I remember like back in the day when people used to post shit on there, like there were all kind of weird.
Yeah.
Ads
well, they got all kinds of fucking apps now.
Yeah, you know, it's not necessary anymore.
One of them called like Babylon. I think it was fucking Escort Babylon, I think is what it's called, or Babylon Escort. Another one is fucking Trist.link, I think is one of them. And so you don't need those anymore. It's a straight up escort site, platform.
I still, one of these days, I want to watch that documentary about Ashley Madison.
What's that about? That's
that site that, let's put it this way, facilitated marital infidelity. That was where if you were married, you can go and find,
I heard
like...
it was fake, though.
Well, see, I don't know this, but somebody made a documentary about it, like, a couple years ago, and it sounded kind of interesting. And I kind of wanted to watch it. But I don't remember if it's on Netflix or I don't remember where it is, but...
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a cheating platform.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, and I'd heard that it came out that most of the female profiles on it were fake.
Well, I think that's true of a lot of those kind of sites.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get dudes to sign up.
Yeah.
And women are generally not going... I'm not saying women won't sign up for that, but to a large degree, women don't sign up for that kind of shit.
Too rare, yeah.
So...
Women have other ways.
Yeah, so they're going to have to, like, bulk it out with fake profiles.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like... But I don't know enough about... I read some articles about it back in the day when there was, like, the big controversy about how most of the profiles were fake and everything like that, but I kind of wanted to watch the documentary. I think it's on Netflix, but I can't remember.
I think if a woman wanted to cheat today, she would just get the damn... What's the one that everybody just uses? I never used it. It's the most common one, Tinder. They'd probably just get a Tinder account and not mention that you're married.
Well, yeah, I assume a lot of people
and
do
maybe
that.
just have photos of you on there, but they're slightly catfished, slightly tweaked, so your husband doesn't recognize you. Probably in case he's on there.
Yeah, because you never know.
You never know. Yeah, he might be on there.
And then you might end up meeting each other, just like the fucking Pina Colada song.
Yeah.
Except that was in the 70s, so that was personal ads. But they were trying to cheat on each other, and then they ended up answering each other's personal ads, and they're like, "Oh, we really were meant for each other." That was the whole plot of that song, in case you didn't know. But yeah, that would be the modern day version. You'd both be on Tinder and end up matching with one another. That would be super funny. American Military 100 said, I think Ashley Madison got hacked and some high-level executives got busted. One dude killed himself after being outed. Yeah, I remember hearing some shit about that, too, because, like, somebody hacked into their database and, like, leaked a bunch of names that were on there. And some of the people, I don't know if they were, like, famous or they were kind of, like, high muckety-muck type of people. And some of these people were, like, really upset at being out. I was like, well, maybe you shouldn't have been on there in the first place. If you were that worried about it, you know. Just saying. Wait, I saw someone. Oracle's here. Hey, y'all, pour me something tall and strong because I've had a hell of a week. Good. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, week has just seemed really, really long. I don't know why. Maybe it was because, well, you were sick. Yeah. And I don't know.
I'm just coming out of it now.
Yeah. You do definitely seem a lot better, but I don't think, I mean, you didn't sleep for 2 days, but... Almost. You kind of slept for 2 straight days. Pretty much. But I told you probably needed to. Yeah. You know? Oh, shit. Oracle said, remember how I said a former teammate had been given 6 months to live? Yeah, you just said that, like, the other day. She died Tuesday afternoon. Yeah. Oh, shit. I'm really sorry about that. Yeah, I remember you saying that. You just said that, like, the other day. Like, on Wednesday's show or Monday's show. I can't remember. Holy shit. Cat's in the litter box. Yeah. I have that litter box in there. It's what's it called? It's called the Breeze system or something. And it's got, like, the big pellets. And they're good. Like, they're easier to scoop and everything like that. But they're really loud. So when she gets in there, she just, like... By the way, we decided, you know, our new little kitty, Dakota, we're going to keep that as her official name because that's the name she came from the shelter with. And I'm just like, yeah, she kind of looks like, so we'll just leave that as her official name. But I was like, but she needs another name because Pookie's real name is Baby Cookie. That's just, we don't usually call her that. We almost always call her Pookie. So I was just kind of like, well, I think Dakota also needs a nickname that is more to do with her actual personality. But it took us a really long time to come up with Pookie's name because we wanted to, like, get to know her first and everything like that. However, yesterday, was it yesterday? Last night? I think it was last night. And Dakota was over there chomping down on little dish of cat treats that we have there in the bedroom. And this cat can eat. And she's skinny. She's like a little tiny skinny cat. And she eats, like... a lot. Like, I can put out, like, little 2 or 3 little, like, servings, like, for the kitties and stuff like that, and she'll just come in and just eat all of them, like, in fucking, I'm just like, those were not all for you, but okay. But so she was there eating, and I noticed that her little butt looks like, because she's a Manx, too, her tail isn't as short as Pookie's is. It's kind of probably about half as long as a standard cat tail. But it's still kind of short. But it's, like, kind of darker and, like, tiger striped on the top side. But then on the underside, it's kind of white. And then I said to Tom, I was like, you know, she kind of looks like a white-tailed deer, like, from the back. And I said, holy shit, we should call her Bambi. Because, not only because her tail looks like, because her butt looks like a deer butt, but also because she has super long legs. And she kind of walks like a baby deer. Like, you know, when a baby deer is just born and it's kind of, like, can't really walk right yet? She kind of walks like that. Like, because she's always, like, trying to get in really close to you and, like, rub against your leg and everything, but she's kind of awkward because her legs are so long. And I was like, that's exactly what she looks like. She looks like a baby deer. So that's what we're going to call her. We're going to call her Baby. John Smith says Dakota's nickname Tribble. That would be good, too. But I kind of liked Bambi because it was kind of like, it's 2 syllables and also ends with an E sound like Pookie does. You know what I mean? They're talking about drugs, opiates. So, yeah. Paul Flynn is in the UK, actually. Zach says, the cat we got in Hawaii, Simba, would eat and eat and eat when we adopted him. I haven't even seen a dog eat that much. Yeah, I don't know if it's just because she's been in a shelter for a long time and it's like she didn't get enough food because there was a lot of other cats around. But you can't, like, legit, the second you put any food down anywhere,
she eats all of it.
She just pops out and eats all of it. Yeah. And I'm like, God damn. Because I told her, it's like, I'll get up and I'll put, like, a couple different flavors of food out, like, you know, hoping that Pookie will eat some too. But it's like by the time Pookie gets in there, the other cats she's already eaten it all. She just goes from plate to plate, just. I'm like, God damn, she's like a little Pac-Man. Oracle says, my husband's dog was officially named Chocolate, but his nickname was Mr. Foz. His other nickname was Dummy Dog. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we call Pookie mostly Pookie or variations of Pookie. But I call her other things, too. We have other names that we call her. I call her Little or Muffin or things like that. Count Pookula. I call her that sometimes, too. Ryan says, has anyone seen the deleted scene from Poltergeist that was just uploaded to Instagram today? I have not. What was it? Like, is it one that had been shown before, or was this, like, the first time that anyone had ever seen it? Because I didn't even hear about that. Now I'm going to have to go check it out. So, you're feeling better, Tom?
Yeah, a little bit better.
Oh shit. Oracle said he was apparently a dog of very little brain. Oh, but he was a sweetie. Though he was also little, he almost got carried off by an owl once. Man, that used to make me so paranoid. Back when we lived at the old house, when Pookie used to want to go outside and like go out on the porch and in the backyard, I was always like terrified that like a fucking owl was gonna come and take her. When she was little, we always had to go out there and like stand with her. Well, and remember when not too long after we moved here, Beijing was outside because she goes and sits out on the back porch sometimes. Pookie doesn't want to go outside anymore, which is fine with me because she's afraid of the dogs next door. But Beijing went outside and we were in the house and we heard like a blood curdling sound that sounded like a cat being horribly murdered. And we were like, what the fuck? And like we went out there and like ran around and looked and we couldn't find Beijing and we were like flipping out. And then we waited and waited and it was getting later and later and later in the night and I was like, oh my god, that was her. Like something got her. And we were like flipping out about it. But then like it was then like 10, 11 o'clock at night. It was late, right? It was like probably like 11:30, something like that. All of a sudden, Beijing just pops up and it's like looking in the sliding glass door like, hey, open the door. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So we never did find out like what that noise was though. But we were for sure it was her because she almost always comes back. But then
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, we heard that horrible noise and then she didn't come back for hours and hours. Yeah. And then she was all fucking casual when she came back. She's like, hey, here I am. Let me back in the house, please. But holy crap. American Military 100, Jenny and Tom, what was your reaction to William Friedkin's death? Side question, do you think his 1982 film Cruising was overrated? I don't think I'd say it was overrated. I actually hadn't seen it for many years.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is.
And that William Friedkin, he directed The Exorcist, among other things.
Yeah, I just don't know who that is really. I've seen that movie, but
yeah, you've seen some, and he did. He also did The Ninth Configuration, which we reviewed. That was a weird ass movie. But yeah, it was a bummer. I'm telling you, it's a bummer. But Cruising, I don't know. I really like that movie.
I've never seen it. You
might like it.
What's it about?
It's kind of like the kind of gay underground in the 70s, like bathhouses and stuff like that. It's Zachary's jam.
It's Zach's jam, yeah.
And he did The French Connection. That's right. I forgot about that. He's done a shit ton of movies. Like, probably The Exorcist is his most famous. Or, although, I don't know. French Connection is maybe his most famous one. But The Exorcist is the one that I'm most familiar with. But, yeah, he's done... What was the other one that he did? I remembered Ninth Configuration because I remember we reviewed that, like, last year. And what a weird-ass movie that was. But he's done, like, a bunch of other ones, too. But I just can't remember. I thought I did a review of Cruising, but maybe not. Because I remember watching it not too long ago. Ryan said, this is talking about the Poltergeist deleted scene. It was the very first time anyone had seen it. The deleted scene is where Beatrice Straight takes the jewelry that fell from the ceiling in the house and finds out some creepy information about them. Oh shit, I didn't even know that was
I don't remember jewelry falling from the ceiling.
Yeah, because remember they had in Poltergeist where they have the portal.
Oh, Poltergeist, yeah.
That comes through all the shit comes through the thing, and they had they did the tennis balls through there.
For
and
some
everything.
reason I was thinking The Exorcist.
And it had goop all over it.
Yeah.
And then they had all that jewelry come down. And yeah, you're right. It's like they never did really explain like what that was or where that came from.
Evidently, what was a trip about Poltergeist is the dead bodies that were that were floating in the water that people were fucking splashed around with were real dead bodies, and they didn't tell the people.
Well, I've heard that, but I don't know if that's an urban legend or not.
I think they said it was.
I mean,
they said they had some cadavers that they used.
It's like, yeah, but it's just throw them there in a mud puddle. It'll probably be fine. No one will get a disease or anything, I'm sure.
It was like illegally purchased cadavers. But evidently they had some in that water, yeah.
I've heard that as well.
Right, because it had been in formaldehyde.
Yeah, it's not like they just went like Ed Gein and like dug up some shit and threw it in there. I think they did have some cadavers that they kind of like put stuff on them, like dress them up to make them look more grosser. But I have heard that. But like I said, I don't know if that's true. There's a lot of stories about. I kind of feel like there's a. I don't
mind seeing Poltergeist again. I haven't seen that in a long time.
That's what I was thinking. It's like I love that movie. I've seen it a million times. I probably have it memorized. But
watch it after the show, maybe.
We should. I don't. You know what? Have we reviewed it for the show? We probably haven't. Even if we have, it's like who gives a shit? Maybe we can watch it after the live stream. If somebody's got it, I don't know. If it's probably streaming somewhere. But there's a series on Shudder called Cursed Films, and I'm pretty sure there was an episode about poltergeists. I could be wrong about it. I remember they had one about The Exorcist, and they had because all kind of crazy shit happened on the background of that, like behind the scenes of that. Especially, I remember like because remember that in The Exorcist when they had Linda Blair and she's in the bed and they had that what do they call it? That harness thing, like when she was going like that in the bed.
Yeah.
And it's like she got all fucked up, like and injured because of that. And also Ellen Burstyn, when she gets thrown across the room, like into the dresser, she I don't think she broke her back, but she got like she fucked her back all up, like when they did that. Like she really did get hurt when they were doing that. What does everybody think about the new Exorcist movie that's coming out that does have Ellen Burstyn in it? We keep seeing the trailer, like when we go to the movies.
So one with the nun, right?
No, that's the Conjuring. That's the Conjuring universe one.
Okay.
Because remember, we saw the first nun.
Oh yeah,
in the theater.
Then we saw okay. There's a new Exorcist coming out.
Yeah. And people keep saying it's a reboot. It's not a reboot. It looks like a sequel.
Yeah.
Because Ellen Burstyn is in it. She's like, oh yeah, the same thing happened to my daughter, so I'm gonna help you guys out. So it's obviously a sequel. It might. You know what? It looks like from the trailer. I was like, that could either be pretty awesome or really, really stupid. I can't really decide.
It seemed like it was going to be good.
Which way it's going to go. It could go either way. It's hard to tell from a trailer because a lot of times the trailer, they're not really... The quibble that I have with the Exorcist trailer is they seem like they're giving the whole shit away. But maybe it's just kind of like...
There's going to be more to it than that, bro.
Well, so maybe that's what they're doing. But I mean, I kind of feel like, well, everybody knows The Exorcist, so it's not like they're going to surprise anybody, you know what I mean?
I was doing some research on Mad Max, the Mad Max universe. There's a new there's a new YouTube channel. I think it's called Mad Max something or other. I'll have to. There's a new Mad Max channel on YouTube. It's real good. And I'd always wondered, I always thought that Fury Road was just kind of like a reboot, just another legendary tale. But no, they started work on that way back in the 90s, and it was going to have Mel Gibson in it. And it's Mad Max 4. It's just that by the time they were ready to do it, because shit got postponed because of the war, and shit happened with Mel Gibson. Probably because remember when Mel Gibson blew up?
Yeah, he didn't literally blow up.
You know what I'm talking about? He just Mel Gibson get drunk and fucking talk. Motherfucking talk crazy. All right, which I like Gibson.
He gets full on racist when he's drunk.
He didn't like the Jews, man.
Anti-Semitic. Yeah.
He didn't like them at all.
I mean,
and he was fucking cussing them out. But I I think he was mostly mad at his wife. I don't know how much it was. How much that
I've been mad at a lot of people, but I didn't impugn an entire race.
He sounded drunk. He sounded drunk off his ass.
Even when I was drunk, I've never done that. So I'm just gonna say, if you do that, you're probably kind of a shitty person, even when you're sober. So that's really no excuse.
Get back Gibson. Gibson was fucking hammered out of his fucking gourd. I think he was fucking pissed off. And anyway, because his shit blew up, they couldn't put him in Mad Max 4.
They're like, yeah, let's not put him in there.
So they put Tom Hardy in there later on, and
you know
so
how we love Tom Hardy.
Yeah, so that's actually, even though like he's way too young for it to be part 4.
Who cares?
But they just said fuck it.
Fuck it. Don't
Originally, it was gonna be Mel Gibson in his 50s, and which the timeline makes a lot more sense, But I was thinking, what about that car, though? He had the Interceptor, and the Interceptor got destroyed already. What the fuck? And the explanation was, in the original script, that Max was so obsessed about that model of car that he would lose it a lot, but would rebuild that same XB Falcon. He'd with the gas tanks in the back and shit. Max would rebuild that car over and over again. So it wasn't the same car. It was just the same model.
But I was just saying that even if... I mean, we've talked about this before. We maybe talked about this when we were talking about Fury Road, which is a fucking awesome movie, by the way.
Yeah, that's great.
But the thing about the Mad Max movies is that I always kind of thought of them less as like a progression, like as in a movie and a sequel and blah, 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 as more like a collection of stories about a particular character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're kind of like being told to you.
Right. I kind of like took them
There's
more in
narration
that.
and stuff.
So it doesn't really matter if like a different person plays him, or if like if the timeline is doesn't line up or something like that. These are just kind of like folk tales. I always kind of see it like it's being told a folk tale about like a legendary guy.
It was.
Right.
It's kind of a Christ metaphor.
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it.
He's a savior of the wasteland.
Right. So I didn't worry too much about.
There was a lot of cool shit that was taken out of all those movies. Watching that, one of the best fucking ideas. They should have never done it. If you guys remember Mad Max, Road Warrior 2, the Humongous, the bald guy who's all burnt up, warrior of the wasteland, all that guy, It was supposed to be later on. Humongous would recognize Max and unveil himself as he was actually the Goose, who was Mad Max's best friend from the first story, from the first movie, who got burned up. Remember, the last time you seen him, he was still in the hospital, just burnt up. And Max went crazy. He says, "No, that's not him. That's not the Goose." And he went back and he takes vengeance out on Toe Cutter's gang. But that was a great idea, but they should have never taken that out. But they thought that people hadn't seen the first movie. But they should have done it anyway.
Yeah, it's like, who fucking cares if people
they didn't have to see the first movie.
Don't worry about, like, if people...
Yeah.
I'm always a big advocate of what I call the MST3K principle, where they're like, we didn't worry about if nobody was going to get these jokes but us. We just thought they were funny, so we put them in there, pretty much. It's like somebody out there will get it, so it's fine.
But there was going to be a badass scene where the Humongous recognizes Max and then tells him who he is. That he's all the, it's kind of like the Darth Vader scene. Like, no, I'm your father. It's going to be like that kind of shit. And he goes, no, man, I'm the Goose. And he was going to try to get him to fucking join. What are those guys called? The Roadkill? Roadkill crew? What was the name of that fucking Humongous's army? I forgot what they were called. Maybe they weren't called anything. But he tried to get them to Warriors of the Wasteland or something. He's trying to get them to join his gang. And boy, she's there making noise again. How many times is...
The thing is, I don't scoop that much cat poop out of there. I think she's just in there going, wee!
Yeah, having fun in there.
And like throw
yeah.
Because like really, I only scoop poop out of there like in the morning and at night. It's only 2 times.
They need to give the Mad Max property to me. I'll fix that shit. They got a lot of guys who got really talented. I don't think there's going to be any more of them. But there was supposed to be a Furiosa movie and everything.
See, I'd watch that because Furiosa is badass. Ryan says, I want to see the next Exorcist. Bringing back Ellen Burstyn is like, for me, when they brought back the original Karate Kid characters in the Cobra Kai show. Yeah, I guess so. And if you're new here, we love fucking Cobra Kai. We always watch it, like, as soon as the new season drops. We totally watch that shit.
It was supposed to be a Furiosa backstory.
Yeah.
Prequel. It wasn't a sequel.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Because
of where she came from. And
right.
How she became Praetor, how she lost her hand and all that. How she fucking left the, I guess, what were they called? The Kundalini?
No, what are they called? Vulvalini?
The Vulvalini.
Like a vulva.
Is that what they call?
Yeah, I thought that's what that was.
Okay. Kundalini.
I've seen that movie. No, that's that Love and Rocket song, Kundalini Express. Ryan says, what do you think Jaws would be like if it was a Lucio Fulci film? Well, for sure it would have his...
like Sharktopus.
No, what I was going to say, if you knew anything about Lucio Fulci movies, I was going to say, well, it would for sure have a zombie in it punching the shark. Yeah. So, because, yeah, Zombie has a shark versus zombie scene. It's pretty epic. Oracle said, I figure Max was kind of like Robin Hood, plenty of stories consolidated around one man, but there may have been several. Yeah, that was kind of the spirit that I took it into. I mean, I don't really get too, as far as movies are concerned, or any kind of like, media or artwork are concerned, I don't get too upset about, I'm not going to sit there and like get all pedantic about this and that and the other. I do about some things, but not usually about that kind of stuff.
They showed all the drawings of all the cars, the characters, Nux, Slit, and everything from Fury Road when they were working on them in the early 90s, and they were fucking really close. I mean, they nailed it. And it didn't change much from the original idea and the original script. The drawings are really cool. Look like something kind of out of Tank Girl. And the War Boys weren't called the War Boys. They were called the Necro Boys, is what they were called originally.
War Boys is better.
Yeah, War Boys, but they're called the Necro Boys originally, and they had painted or tattooed on their face huge shark teeth and huge mouths. Was part of their huge mouths with like jagged teeth. They got the idea from like P-47 Tomahawks from fucking the Flying Tigers, mercenary air group that defended China for a while. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but that's where they got the idea of them. They looked really cool in the drawings.
Ryan says, thoughts on I Saw the Devil. That is actually probably my favorite Korean film of all time. If you have,
that, didn't I?
Yeah, because remember I kept telling you, because I saw it a long time ago, and I was like, oh my god, this was like one of the best movies ever. For sure, like one of the best revenge movies, and it's pretty fucked up. There's like, it's pretty violent and pretty disturbing.
Can't remember what happened.
So it's like for a long time I kept telling him, I was like, you gotta see this movie, because he likes Korean movies.
Yeah.
So finally I got him to watch it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was the guy, remember, it was like the guy that was, he was like a police investigator, and his wife got murdered and dismembered by a serial killer, and then he goes after the serial killer, but he keeps like fucking him up and then like letting him go so they can do like a cat and mouse kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And like I said, it's like, it's super, super violent. Like, don't watch it if you're squeamish for sure. But, because some pretty fucked up shit happens in it. But
there's another good one that's called Old Boy.
Yeah, there's like, if you liked Old Boy, you would definitely like I Saw the Devil.
Yeah, a guy ends up, he gets abducted and put into a private prison, and it's just a private prison run by I guess a gang. Mm-hmm. And you're just in this room.
Old Boy is great.
Yeah, it's got a fake window, and
hey, Paul.
They feed you the same fucking yakimandu every day, which is pot stickers. Oh, we're gonna get some pot stickers tomorrow.
I was gonna say tomorrow.
We're gonna go.
We're like we become such creatures of habit. Yeah. It's like every day we're just kind of like, are we going to the?
Yeah, we're going to Chinese.
Are we going to the Chinese? Well, it's good because there's like I kind of like there's a bunch of stuff there, so you can just kind of have whatever you want.
Eat the same thing every time I go. I got it down. I got it down with science.
Yeah, sometimes they have, because I think last time we went actually after we saw the movie because we got there too late So we had the dinner thing, so they
Yeah.
didn't have some of the stuff that
That
they
worked
usually
out
have.
though. It worked out
Yeah,
better.
yeah. It actually did work out better because we didn't have to rush.
Yeah.
Well, I usually go. I can't eat that much anymore, so I have to kind of plan out.
They had rainbow sherbet, man, on the fucking ice cream. Fucking.
Oh, see, Tom's gonna be all into
Yeah,
that.
it was the green and red and orange.
I try not to eat too much dessert, but they do have these really nice, like, kind of shortbread almond cookies that I'm into.
Yeah.
So I usually get one of those, but then I usually just get fruit.
We got to make a video.
I mean, we could
Yeah.
with my phone if everybody
Yeah.
wanted to see what it was like. But
But those pot stickers, also known as fucking dumplings, the deep fried little
their dumplings are really good. I feel like their
Yeah.
dumplings are better
They're
than
like
Koi
they're
Wan's.
better than Koi Wan's dumplings, man. And they have the damn sauce, which is it's kind of like a teriyaki kind of. I don't know. It's just kind of like a soy sauce with probably like wine and a little bit of sugar in it or something. That shit is fucking good. They had them in Korea. They were just like that, more or less. And man, I'll eat like fucking 8 of those things.
Yeah, he'll come back just with one plate with
A whole bunch
all
of those.
with a big pile of
Dip.
those.
I'll get a big plate of fucking cold boiled shrimp, cocktail sauce. I punish them for putting shrimp out.
Well, like I said, I can't eat as much. And every time, I've noticed that every subsequent time we go, I've been able to eat less and less.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I really have to pick out, and I want like a little bit of each thing. So I try to like just have like a little bit of each thing. I try to concentrate on seafood because I really like seafood and we don't make it much at home. And I try to like get a lot of vegetables. No carbs. I try to do no carbs.
Yeah.
Like no
Murder Hornets talk about crab rangoons. They got them.
They got those.
They got those, but those things are really high in carbohydrates, calories, and they're never fresh. Really, they're never really hot enough. They're just sitting there on a steam table. They're always kind of like slightly cold. So I don't really fuck with them. Not worth the calories.
Every now
that's so easy to make, man. You just
Yeah,
get
you
your
can make
wonton
those.
wrapper down at the fucking grocery store. They're in the produce section, usually. And it's just canned crab meat, a little bit of garlic, and sour cream. Not sour cream, cream cheese. You mix it up in a bowl first with chives, and put that in the middle of each one of the wonton wrappers, and you glue them shut with a little bit of water and flour paste you make. Deep fry them. They're much better when they're fresh.
Well, yeah, that's true of most
Just
things.
eat them with mustard. It's
Yeah,
just
for some
powdered
reason,
mustard and water.
The ones you get at the buffet,
Yeah,
they're good, but they're never.
They're never quite good as fresh.
Even when they just first bring them out, they seem to like cool off really quick. I don't
Yeah.
usually. I like them, but I don't usually
It's not
bother
something that
with
can
them
sit around for very long.
because I feel like because there's so much other stuff
Yeah.
that I could be eating that it's like, well, it seems like a waste of.
You eat 4 of those, man.
Stomach
That's probably
space.
1,000 calories.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I fucking
Yeah.
love cream cheese. I'll eat a whole block of cream cheese.
You're
if
better
you
off
let
going
me.
after another plate of fucking shrimp, boiled shrimp. They had fried shrimp, flattened out, butterflied. Fried
Yeah, I
shrimp.
didn't
That
even
was good,
get.
too.
I was gonna go back and get some more of that, but I was
Yeah.
too full.
Yeah.
They had oysters too, which they
I-
don't usually have on the lunch
I didn't
buffet.
notice that. Fried oysters?
Were they fried?
I'm asking you. I didn't
They
see
had
them.
raw ones.
Nice.
And they maybe had fried ones on the other side. But yeah, they had some different shit out, like on
Yeah.
the dinner thing.
Dinner
because
is more
it was
expensive.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was after 3 p.m. or after 4 p.m. or whatever. Because normally we go like.
You go in there in the afternoon on a Saturday, it's nothing but fat people. Every time, it's just fat people. Me and Jenny be the only ones that aren't fat, and the wait
much.
staff.
Yeah.
They're all fat retired people.
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. Well, like I said, the area that we live in
Yeah.
is pretty rural, and it's kind of like a lot of retirees,
Yeah.
especially like right around that mall.
Around that mall
Is
yeah.
kind of like there's a lot of trailer parks, like
seasonal,
not like
seasonal,
like mobile
motor
home parks.
parks.
Yeah, like they're nicer. They're not like super trashy or anything, but
some of them
they're
are tragic.
some of them were trashy, but like some of them are kind of nice. And then there's like right down the street, there's kind of like nicer, like
Yeah.
gated community type things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of retirees.
Yeah, retirees from out of state.
I mean, I get like if you have a big family or something like
Yeah.
that, I guess that's like a good deal because you can take your kids there and they can just eat
Yeah.
as much as they want and like you don't
Yeah.
have to feed them the rest of the day. So in that way, it's kind of cost effective. But like I said, every subsequent time we go, I just find myself eating less and less, just because I can't.
Well, you're not eating as much.
Yeah, I can't get as much down. Like
Murder. They got Mongolian beef there. It's good, man. They got that also.
Yeah.
I put fucking chili oil on it. Make it even hotter.
I can't do hot food anymore. You know, getting too old for that. But
you saying I love balls in my mouth? Well, what are you talking about, man? Making shit up.
Yeah, he does love balls in his mouth. Oracle said, "I'm gonna try making naan tomorrow."
Oh yeah, it's not hard.
Naan. We've made it before.
Yeah, it's not hard. You want to. The best way to make naan is if you have a pizza stone. Get that pizza stone really hot, like 550 degrees maximum heat, high up on your oven rack, and place the naan in there using a pizza peel, which is a big flat thing you use to. You can just pull the rack out, toss it on there, try to make it hit so it's round, and that hot stone, the induction will fucking cook that just right. And then close it, shut it for a few seconds, and then flip it over, do it a little bit more, and then pull it out. Because you don't have a tandoor oven, see?
Yeah.
Which is a big fucking clay pot with a bunch of hot coals in it, sitting in a bunch of hot coals. They're putting that shit. I think it's just coals around it.
Ideally, that's what you're supposed to have.
Yeah, and you're throwing the bread on the inside of that damn pot, big tandoori pot, and then pulling it off, pulling it out of there. But a pizza stone's close, similar.
Well, naan's good because we used to just make pizzas on that if we were too lazy to make dough.
You can get it pre-made and freeze it. It keeps forever.
Yeah, we used to go to the Indian market and get they have those big fucking things of it, and we used to use that shit for everything.
Yeah,
made sandwiches with it.
Sandwiches, pizza, whatever.
Like breakfast sandwiches, just put some eggs and shit on it.
Yeah, eggs and cheese. And some bacon, fold that shit over. Yeah,
kind of like a panini, but you know what I mean. Just bread.
It's easy to make. It's just flour, and then it was water, and I think some yogurt in the water. And I think a little bit of sugar, and it's got to sit there, and then you add the flour to it, and it turns into the dough. But it's got to sit in there and kind of ferment for a little while. I don't remember exactly how I did it. You just got to look it up. I don't remember any of those recipes by I don't remember. I don't have them memorized. You got to go in there and read them.
Murder Hornet said, "I had a Filipino girlfriend. She wanted me to try balut." I'm like, hell no.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm like, why would anyone ever put that in their mouth? Other than on a dare, and not even then.
Some of that weird Asian cuisine that happened in Thailand and China, where they're eating roaches and bugs and shit like that. That's not their normal cuisine. That happened when they got really poor under communist regimes that fucked up their damn food production and famines that hit. Then they resort to eating bugs. They try to dress them up with the seasonings that they use, but if you talk to any Thai chef, they didn't eat water bugs and shit. That's modern. That was after that happened during some kind of communist fucking famine that they had for a while. They got rid of those governments.
You guys don't have to eat them.
You don't have to eat bugs anymore.
You've got KFC now.
Yeah. That's why you got the World Economic Forum saying that you're going to eat bugs and live in a pod and eat fucking, what they call them. And they even had that little fucking Tom Cruise's ex-wife out there fucking trying to eat bugs and tell you how good. They're not going to eat bugs. They're going to eat fucking filet mignon. They're trying to get poor people to eat bugs. They want as many poor people as they can because it's easier to control poor people, especially if they're miseducated and real religious. They think they're saving the earth and keeping it from catching on fire and fucking carbon footprints and shit. You can tell anybody anything and get them to become subservient, or they think. It may be true. I don't know. If you fall for that, you deserve it. But I ain't eating bugs. I'd rather eat them before I eat a bug. I'm like my Islander boys that I talk to online fucking coming up out of the army, fucking Micronesia and Fijians and shit. You vanquish an enemy, you eat him. You know, don't let that protein go to waste, man. You want to absorb his natural fucking masculine power. See, just like old fucking what's his name, Hannibal Lecter. He knew the deal. Yeah. You kill my cat, I'm gonna eat you.
Well, I would probably eat you too
Yeah.
if you did that, just to spite you.
Yeah. You try to starve me, I'm gonna eat you. Yeah.
Victor said, I'd eat a dude. I mean, you'd have to do something really, really bad to me. But if you came in here and like tried to do some really bad shit, I would probably eat you. Just what, and I would eat you that so you would know that I was eating you like a little bit at a time.
So I could crap you out and flush you down the fucking toilet so you float away with the rest of the shit.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got stronger, you got weaker, you became shit.
Like I don't believe in any of that getting their essence or anything like that. That's why it's so important that you'd have to do it a little bit at a time. Because they'd have to know that you were cutting off pieces of them, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna go shit out party you now. Be back in a minute. You know what I mean? So it'd be that kind of thing. Maybe they'd learn.
Like something out of that movie, Quest for Fire. Remember that where they fucking cavemen?
I haven't seen that in a long time.
I gotta see that shit.
Man, they used to fucking play.
that.
They used to play that on fucking cable.
We need to rent that one too. I'd like to see Quest for Fire again.
So we're gonna see Poltergeist and Quest for Fire.
Ray Dong Chong, her naked ass running around through half the damn
Well,
movie.
you know that's why everybody watched that movie back in the day. They're
cute,
like,
man.
boobies.
She was cute.
Cavemen didn't wear clothes. Come on, we're gonna see all the naked ladies.
But they found, I think, if I remember correctly, they found Ray Dong Chong tied to a tree, and all her friends were fucking had their arms and legs eaten off. And remember the big old fat redheaded dudes were eating them.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah.
I saw it a bunch of times on cable when I was growing up. But...
And the Neanderthal good guys fucking saved her, fucking cut the fucking ropes and pulled her off a tree. Saved her from getting eaten.
Yeah, Ray Dong Chong was hot. She was hot, actually.
Yeah, she's cute.
I haven't seen her in a long time, but...
I remember her being cute. She wasn't hot. She was cute. She was too skinny to be hot.
I remembered her from... I mean, she was in a bunch of stuff, but for some reason I remember her a lot from that terrible movie that was on MST, which was called City Limits, that also had Robbie Benson in it.
Yeah. Oh, that guy,
and the dude from
that guy.
Christine and Real Genius.
Yeah.
What was that guy's name? John Stockwell, maybe?
Robbie Benson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was from fucking
Oh, and
to Billy Joe, right?
It's been a long time since I've seen that too. Oh, and you know who else was in City Limits was Darth Vader's voice.
Yeah, James Earl Jones.
There you go. Thank you. Well, I don't know why I couldn't remember that.
So, yeah, man. Look, man. The voice of James Earl Jones. He's from Mississippi. All right. He's African and Irish descent. His parents were scholars. They worked in a university. And he was a fucking Army Ranger. A lot of people don't know that. That James Earl Jones was the Army Ranger. He was an officer, too. So when you see Darth Vader, the voice of Darth Vader is a biracial ranger from fucking Mississippi. Just keep that in mind, all right? That's the voice of Darth Vader. And rightly so.
I mean, sure.
Fucking right. Also, Thulsa Doom, man. My favorite movie of all time is fucking Conan. And fucking James Earl Jones knocked it out of the fucking park. Wig and all. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say the wig was good too. All right.
Well, if anybody could pull off that wig,
yeah, the wig was cool.
It would be
too.
James Earl
He
Jones.
had bangs and everything.
Nobody else could pull off bangs like James Earl Jones. That's for sure.
It made sense if you understand the script. He was a fucking 4,000-year-old fucking Atlantean fucking sorcerer. Okay. So of course he's gonna have hair like that. Yeah. He's gonna be an ancient race of people that don't exist anymore. They're just kind of mixture of everything, kind of white and black and oriental and fucking long straight hair and bangs and can talk his way into power and just a cult leader, you know. His version of sorcery was to get you to just give yourself up into this damn cult of cannibals.
Okay, I got a lot of stuff I gotta answer. Okay, Victor said, I heard the guy that played Darth Vader didn't know he was getting dubbed until he watched the movie. Yeah, I've heard that too. That was
Michael Prowse, yeah.
David Prowse.
David Prowse, that's right.
And who was also the big guy in A Clockwork Orange.
The bodyguard.
The bodyguard.
Yeah, he was in a lot of other movies
He
too.
was in a lot of movies, yeah. But
he's a bodybuilder.
Yeah. But that's I heard that too, that it's like he didn't know.
He had a strong accent.
Yeah.
You weren't going to be able to. And his voice wouldn't have worked for Darth Vader, man. Fucking James Earl Jones' voice fucking knocked it out of the fucking park.
I mean, you know, I can't imagine
you see
that character.
The script called for a dark, ominous voice, and evidently the people in casting said, "Well, let's try a black guy," and James Earl Jones, and he had that voice. They said, "Yeah, that's it."
Well, I mean, they needed somebody that sounded like creepy and intimidating,
right? And fucking Jones was fucking great. He was a great actor, man. He was really good in fucking one about the nuclear annihilation. How I Learned to Love the Bomb. What was the name of that movie?
Dr. Strangelove.
Dr. Strangelove. Yeah, he played one of the fucking crewmen in the B-52. I think he played Bombardier or Navigator. I don't remember. But he was good in that too. He had the military jargon down. He was a real military man.
Ryan said, I heard that Scott Baio was originally supposed to be the main character in Christine. I always thought he would have done good as Daniel LaRusso. I kind of thought so too. Like, I'm
Daniel LaRusso. That's in
the Karate Kid movie.
Karate Kid, yeah.
Yeah. The thing about it, like, I love the adaptation, John Carpenter's adaptation of Christine from 1983. I think it's a very, very underrated 80s movie. I think it's a very underrated John Carpenter movie, and I think it's a very underrated Stephen King adaptation. I will say that I think Keith Gordon, who played Arnie, he was great. I don't know if Scott Baio would have pulled that off the same way. Keith Gordon was so good in it because he was like, he equally sold this nebbishy nerd, but then like when he kind of got possessed by the car and like he turned into this kind of like mean greaser, he pulled that off too. Like, and it was a really seamless transition. I just thought he was really great in that.
It was a great movie.
I love that movie. I have a poster for that movie right over there that's like framed on the wall.
If you guys like that movie, read the book. The book's even better. And it's close to the movie. There's a lot more
they actually, that's always true.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did. It's actually like
It's
a pretty
real close.
faithful adaptation.
Yeah.
They changed a couple of things.
Yeah.
But like they made it so that, because in the book, LeBay was the guy that sold him the car, and then he died, and then he possessed. Whereas like in this, he was already dead, and then it was like the brother.
Yeah.
So you know.
No, LeBay had possessed it.
Right.
Possessed him after he died. He died as soon as he sold the car.
Yeah.
Like directly.
Right. But so they changed that in the movie, but not that. Like I said, it didn't really make it.
It was a great tale about an evil motherfucker who was just psychically tied to this damn car. He wanted a new body, so he could fucking fuck shit up. Him in that car, and that car was like a demon too.
Yeah.
I think the car was more of a demon, and he would and LeBay's ghost was in it. It was like symbiotic.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like
And,
that.
yeah, and they sold it. They sold the fucking car to Arnie, and fucking LeBay went in there and croaked and cacked, and his ghost went into the fucking car, and then slowly his ghost took over, and then the car was happy about it. It's a good book. There's a lot more details of what's going on inside that car.
Which is funny because when you give somebody the elevator pitch and say it's a movie or a book about a haunted car, you're gonna be like, come on. That sounds dumb as hell.
It was more than that. It was more like a fucking demonic car.
It was actually
like a demonic car that was being haunted by an evil man, and they possessed the fucking kid. Or actually, he possessed a kid so him and the demon car could continue their fucking love affair, I guess.
Now, I will note that Stephen King wrote yet another book about a haunted car, which was called From a Buick 8, which was slightly different, but kind of similar enough that I was like, meh. It was alright, but I don't really remember that much about it.
Writers, just like directors, have half-lives.
Well,
and they don't always have hits.
Well, yeah, and the thing that I said, it's like, look, I'm still like a huge fan of Stephen King's like older shit.
Yeah.
And I can't keep track of all the stuff that he writes because he writes so much. Like, you know what I mean? So I can't keep up with everything. But I've mentioned this before that I actually read a book of his, like the most recent book of his that I read was what the fuck was it called? I just had it and it went like right out of my head again. Revival. And that's from like 2014, 2015, something like that. And that's great. That was a great fucking book. It was just, it reminded me kind of like of Frankenstein or like Something Wicked This Way Comes or something like that. It was like that kind of vibe. And I was like really, really into it. So it's not that he's like lost it or his shit's not good or anything like that. But, you know, just like anybody that writes that much, everything's not going to be like a fucking classic. You know what I mean? And they tend to like repeat themselves because it's Stephen King. So he's going to have like particular themes that he keeps returning to, because that's just what you do when you're a writer. You write what you're interested in, and that tends to be like similar, you know. But you know, I've all of his new shit that I've read mostly was good. Some of it was like I said, Revival was great, and I kind of wish they would make a movie of that, because that would be fucking awesome. But they'd probably fuck it up though. That needs a series. Because it's kind of sprawling, like, and it happens over like a long period of time.
So you mentioned they don't know what the problem was with the word Oriental. That's all fucking bullshit. When I lived in Korea, they didn't want to be called Asians. When you said Asia to a Korean, they think of fucking India. They called themselves Oriental in English. And then they called us Occidental. It's just an older terminology. Doesn't mean anything.
Oracle said, have y'all seen Hard Candy? Yes, I have seen it a couple of times, and it's awesome. I don't think you've seen it.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the number one selling Korean beer is called OB, Oriental Beer. That's what it fucking stands for. OB. It's fucking funny.
But yeah, Hard Candy was about, it was the guy that plays Ed Warren in the Conjuring movies. And Elliot Page, when she was still Ellen Page, she was a kid, but not a kid, but she was like a teenager, and she's like, he plays like a pedo. There goes the monetization. A PDF file, as they say. He's a PDF file.
Yeah.
And she's actually sort of catfishing him into, like, she knows about it, and so she uses herself as bait. And then she sets up this big elaborate, but it's great. It's a great movie. I don't think, have I reviewed it? I thought I did, because I just watched it not too long ago. But yeah, High Desert 04 said, I loved Revival. It was super Lovecraftian. Yeah, that's what I was really surprised, because like I said, I hadn't been keeping up with Stephen King's newer shit, because he just writes so much, and I have like so many other writers that I follow, and like lots of other books that I have to read and shit like that. So I had never even heard of that, and then I found it in a used bookstore, and I was like, oh, I never even heard of this one. Like, when's this from? And I was like, that sounds kind of good. And then I read it, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. They need to like fucking make a movie out of this like right now, instead of making movies of stuff that they've already made of his, like remaking Firestarter and remaking Pet Sematary and all this. Like, you already did that. Like, he's got like all these new ones. Shit, he's got like a bunch of old books and stories that they never made into movies that they should. I'm trying to think of what would be a good Stephen King story or book that they never made into a movie.
Is wise.
They've made so many movies of his shit that they've made movies of his shit that I didn't even know they made movies of the shit. You know what I'm saying? I found out a couple years back that they had made a movie out of his story Grandma, which I think is from, was that in Night Shift or Skeleton Crew? I think it was in Skeleton Crew. And they made a movie out of it, but it wasn't called Grandma. It was actually called Mercy, and it had the kid in it that played Carl on Walking Dead. It wasn't bad. I think I wrote a review of it for my blog. I didn't love it because I think they added too much extraneous, because that's a pretty short story, right? And it's pretty straightforward. So they added like all this extraneous detail, which I thought they didn't really develop sufficiently. And I was like, a lot of this shit just doesn't need to be in here. It's like, it's just too busy, and it's like not really even that long of a movie. And it's like, you could have trimmed out some of these subplots and some of these side characters that didn't have anything to do with anything. But it was, overall, it was an okay movie though. But I'm trying to think of like novels of his that I've read that I thought would make good movies that they never did make into movies. But did they ever make Bag of Bones? into a movie? I kind of feel like they did, but if they did, I didn't see it. I really liked Bag of Bones, although I haven't read it in a while. Ryan said, I heard that Spielberg wanted Stephen King to write the screenplay to Poltergeist. I would have loved that. Yeah, it probably would have been. Like I said, we were... now we got, like, all into Poltergeist. It's like, now we're going to go watch it again. I've probably seen Poltergeist, like... I've probably seen that movie at least 30 times. Probably more than that, I'd imagine. Because it was always on. Like, back in the 80s, it was always on. Patrick Wilson, that's that guy's name, yeah. Yeah, it was like, you know, the guy that played Ed Warren in all the Conjuring movies. I could see his face, and I couldn't think of his name. Let's see. Ryan says, who thinks Dustin Hoffman would have done awesome in horror films? He would have defined great acting in horror. Now, you know what? I never thought of that, but now that I think about it, I mean, yeah, that might have worked. The thing about it, I still kind of feel like it's less now than it used to be. But I do kind of still feel like there's like a stigma about horror movies. And people don't usually like call out good acting in horror movies. And there's a lot of great acting in horror movies. And I've said this before, and I will defend this statement. I kind of feel like being in a horror movie is maybe, from an acting point of view, is probably harder than being in other genres because the emotions are so heightened, and a lot of times in horror movies you have to sell an idea that is inherently unbelievable. So it's like a harder hurdle to get over, you know what I mean? Like for your audience, to make it believable, to make it realistic. And so like I think that that's more difficult, like from an acting point of view. So I think that we absolutely should appreciate that. I'm still mad that fucking Toni Collette didn't get nominated for Hereditary, because that was just, in any movie, that was just a fucking fantastic performance. And I'm just like pissed off that, and I've seen like a lot of horror movies that had fucking great performances in them, and they just don't get recognized. Zach says they did do Bag of Bones as a mini series. Yeah, I thought that they did, but it's like I thought they just did it for like TV or something. It's like Pierce Brosnan was the main character. He wasn't very good. Yeah. I don't know. Some of the stuff I think just works better as books. You know what's funny about that? Do you remember the Stephen King book Dreamcatcher, the one with the ass weasels? That was the one with the ass weasels. That's how I know that book. But well, no, that's what they were. So it was aliens, but kind of, right? It was an alien infection of some kind, but it was ass weasels. But I remember reading that book, and it's like the book's kind of fun. It's pretty gross and it's like entertaining, but it's also like stupid as hell. And I remember reading that book and being like, oh, this book is like pretty fun, but dear God, I hope they never make a fucking movie of this. But they did. And the movie, not surprisingly, was fucking terrible.
What are you talking about?
Dreamcatcher.
Oh.
Dreamcatcher.
Yeah, I remember when that book came out. I never read it.
It's, like I said, it's from a body horror standpoint. It's like a fun, if you just want to read something that's kind of like fun and gross, because it's pretty gross. You know, it's not like great literature or anything like that, because it's about ass weasels.
And if you ask me, his best ones were like... His last good ones were like Thinner, The Dark Half, I guess Talisman, but he did that with somebody else.
Peter Straub, yeah.
That was a great book. I wish they'd make that into a damn series.
They might get around to it. Well, I've told you
his
this.
Gunslinger books were really good. I like that. I didn't read them all. I think I read 3 of them.
How many of them are there now?
I think there's a bunch.
There's a bunch of them. 11? Did somebody tell me? There's a lot.
I wouldn't mind getting a series of them all, but man, my vision is so bad.
I'm not super into, like, because those are like more fantasy based, and I've never been super into.
them.
I liked Eyes of the Dragon, like that fantasy that you did back in the 80s, but that's generally not my genre. I'm more of like just a horror.
I could read stories back when I was late teens and early 20s, and they could capture my imagination. But when I get older, reading fiction is not as quite as exciting as it used to be. Like, it's not as immersive to me for some reason. I don't buy it as much.
That's kind of sad. Maybe just because you just got out of it, and
Yeah, like I'd rather read a biography or an autobiography. Or
Well, I
something,
like that too. Like I like
history and science.
well, that's the thing. But I like both things. I really like reading nonfiction too. Like I really like science and history and stuff like that. Like and for a few years, I went off and that's all I read was like nonfiction. But I don't know. There's just something about it. Depends on what kind of mood I'm in. But I can still get like totally immersed in
Fantasy
horror stories.
Yeah, no.
Like I said, I'm not a big fantasy person, never have been. I'm not a big sci-fi person either, although I do like some sci-fi. I'm more like a straight up horror person. And within horror, I tend to have favorite subgenres, but I'll read pretty much any kind of horror like within reason because I don't know, I just really the one that I'm reading now, I just finished because I think was it Oracle that recommended the Take Kingfisher book, A House with Good Bones. I just finished that one. So I wrote a review of that, so that'll be going up. Probably not this week because I have another book review going up this week, but probably in a week or two. And right now I'm reading Slewfoot by Brom, which is set in. It's kind of like The Witch in that it's set in like colonial America, and it's like a demonic, like satanic kind of thing. And it's really good. I just started it today, and it's like really. I'm already like sucked into it. Let's see. John Gora said Straw Dogs was kind of a horror film. I'd agree. It was pretty horrifying. And have you seen High Desert says, have you seen A Dark Song? Yes, I've seen it 2 times. And I think I did a review of it over on my Flickers of Fear series. I love that movie. I think that was one of the first movies that I ever saw that like took the idea behind the occult of doing like these long occult rituals where you have to go like weeks and weeks and weeks like without moving or like without eating and like rip it and like really kind of like drilled down on that.
Yeah.
But it was really good. It's only 2 characters, but I really dug it. I really liked that movie a lot. It was set in Wales actually.
There's something to all that though. Why rituals would go on for that long. You know, having poltergeist fucking experiences and shit like that, and out of body experiences, NDEs and stuff. Sometimes it would take a long time. Like when we were writing the book, I started getting to a mindset. A couple weeks later, phenomena started to happen. It's not something you could just turn on. It takes a mindset, and in my case, fear, stress, and frustration were the main feelings you have to have in order to get it started. So I could see how maybe if somebody was trying to induce that into themselves by using some kind of magical system that somebody else taught them to do, maybe the mental preparations would be painful. Like you can't move. So it'd put you under a lot of stress. Which kind of goes back to rituals that Native Americans would kind of do. Put themselves into real hot tents, get heat exhausted, hang themselves from a ceiling from spikes,
Well, because you're taking your body to extremes to try and transcend.
To try to fucking have an
the body. Right.
How to have an out-of-body
experience. It makes total sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So, not necessarily saying that the magic itself worked. It's just that putting yourself under all that stress, you had a spiritual fucking experience, and possibly paranormal, depending on who you are and how it went down. Most of it had to do, for the Native Americans, was having visions, which, that matches up with shit that me and some of my friends in the Army would see. Having visions under the conditions of extreme exhaustion. And then the vision comes true. That kind of shit. But it's usually little shit that would only matter to the people involved. So I guess they were doing that even back then.
But the movie A Dark Song was
what's funny
about
is that the brain is a damn prediction machine anyway. It predicts every little thing you're doing just walking around. So it may not be supernatural. It might just be a type of quantum computation where you correctly guessed what the future would be because your subconscious had mapped out the course of events many steps ahead of what your consciousness could do. I tried to figure it out, you know what I mean? Why a premonition would come true, why you would dream true. some would say, well, maybe it's just luck, statistics. I don't know, man. Some of the weird dreams that I had that came true had a weird feeling to them, but from the very beginning.
A Dark Song was about a woman who, her son had died, and she hired an occultist because he said that they could do this really long ritual and she would be able to talk to him again. But they had to close themselves up in this house for like 6 months, and like she had to do all of these like rituals and shit like that. But it's kind of supernatural, but it's also like kind of psychological horror, because you're not really sure what her end game is. You're not really sure what his end game is, like if he can really do what he says he can do, like what he said he could do, and all this other kind of shit. So there's like all this tension between them, but it's really, really good. I really liked it a lot. Zach said, how many people do you think knew Shawshank was a King story? Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people did know that, because it's not horror. But Stephen King writes a lot of stuff that's not straight up horror.
Yeah, and that's got his fingerprints all over it.
It does, though. But I think maybe a lot of people, I mean, you know, something like The Green Mile or something like that.
If you read his short stories, a lot of them are like that.
Yeah, he does write a lot of short stories like along that vein.
They're not necessarily paranormal. Well, yeah, they're weird, you know, like The Jaunt. That was a fucking weird one, you know. And then the guy who ate himself out on that island, what was that called? Survivor Type. Yeah, and then The Mist. Another good one.
They did Survivor Type on the new Creep Show on Shudder. They did it as like an animated.
Yeah, it was good.
Which was probably the best thing to do, because it's like that would be really hard to do, like with because like it's a person like eating themselves piece by piece. So it'd be kind of hard
to avoid starvation on an island. Yeah.
John Gora said, weren't they going to make the King short Rage? I think it was called. About the school shooter hostage situation. Yeah, that's when he was writing under Richard Bachman, and that was like a novella, and I kind of feel like they were going to make it, but then I don't know if they might make it nowadays, but it's like it's kind of too close to like a lot of real school shootings, so people might be a little sensitive about it. But you know, Zach says there's a 2019 horror movie based on Jewish practices I learned about called The Vigil that looks awesome. I've seen that. I actually did a review of it probably like a few months ago. Like it's over. I think it's in my Flickers of Fear playlist. It was actually pretty good. The director that did it, I think it was the same director that did the Firestarter remake recently. And that's one of the reasons that I went back and like watched it. It's pretty good. It's like it's not like reinventing the wheel. It's pretty much just like, I mean, the whole premise is like the guy is supposed to you know, watch over the dead body until because that's, you know, Jewish tradition. Like he's supposed to watch over the dead body until the, you know, morgue attendants like come to get it the next day or whatever. And there's another woman in the house and she has dementia, but then like it starts like all this weird like creepy paranormal shit starts to happen. It's pretty good, but it's not like super original or anything like that, but I really liked it. Let's see. And Oracle says, talking about Stand By Me, the movie. Yeah, that was also based on Stephen King, The Body. And again, not supernatural.
YP Poe mentioned psychotic breaks due to sleep deprivation. He said the pre-consciousness. Yeah. Yeah, I just noticed that anything that alters consciousness to some kind of a fucking extreme degree, you can have a weird experience. Might be through, like you said, sleep deprivation, extreme fatigue, psychedelic drugs, extreme emotional states, especially if it's over a period of time. One of the ones that fucking consistently did it for me was basically kind of like transcendental meditation, where you try to stop all thought, which is, man, try to stopping your conscious thinking is extremely difficult.
Yeah, I don't.
As soon as you do, you'll have an out of body experience.
My brain is like a fucking hamster wheel. It's just going all the time.
You try to stop it into silence, and then all of a sudden you're fucking feels like you fell asleep without losing consciousness, and you'll be looking down at yourself. It'll feel like your head's rocking back and forth too.
Yeah, honestly, I think Stand By Me was one of the best movies made from a Stephen King. And like I said, I don't even know. I guess most people know that that's from a Stephen King story. But again, that's not necessarily horror. It's horror adjacent, I guess. But he wrote like a lot of kind of drama type stuff that wasn't supernatural. And a lot of it was really good, I thought. Like, look at something like Dolores Claiborne or something like that. That's not supernatural. But that was like a really good...
Just a reminder for you people listening to this recorded, super thanks, of course, are active. And super chats are active if you guys are listening live. Just passing the collection plate around.
Yeah, Kaylin Higgins, Stand By Me is Stephen King, right? Yeah, it was based on a story called The Body. Also, didn't Stephen King write a book that was banned in public schools because a mass shooter had a copy? Yeah, I think that's what we were just talking about. It's a novella, and it's called Rage, and it was in... it was called the Bachman books, and it had 4 novellas in it. It was Rage, The Long Walk, The Running Man...
Yeah.
And one other one.
A lot of people don't know that the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Running Man is a fucking...
That's also a Stephen King, but he wrote it under Richard Bachman.
Yeah. And even though I love that movie, they cut so much of the good shit out of that movie. There's no blood in it. There hardly isn't any killing in any of the scenes. It's very tame.
Apt Pupil, that was the other one. Thank you.
To see it by today's
They made that into a movie, too.
But I recommend Running Man. It's a fun program.
It's not that close. I've heard that they're making The Long Walk into a movie, but...
Yeah, Running Man was not like... The movie wasn't like the book.
No, not really.
No.
I mean, the premise is sort of similar.
Yeah, but it didn't have the same visuals.
And the thing about it was the story was actually much darker, like more dystopian. It's like they kind of made the movie like more fun. You know what I mean? More fun, more colorful. Zach says, have you ever seen Ask a Mortician here on YouTube? Yes, I love her. She's awesome. I don't like, I'm subscribed. I don't see all her videos, but I do watch them like every now and then. Yeah, she's like super cool.
Yeah, King in his heyday was really good. He was great. I haven't read anything recently. I mean, some of his stuff might be good, but Tommy Knockers came out, and I was disappointed, and I stopped reading after that.
Well,
since I had to go to the army anyway.
Well, like I said, it's like I didn't like the Tommy Knockers either.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's alien stuff, and I'm not usually into aliens.
He was tripping balls. That book did not make any goddamn sense. It jumped everywhere.
Well, he was a big alcoholic.
He was on something. Yeah.
And he was hopped up on coke a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, in a way, like, and I know he says that, he's like, oh yeah, I don't even remember writing that shit or whatever. But he's pretty, like, open about all of his substance abuse issues. But in a way, like, yeah, that's fucked up, and, like, some of the books that came out in that era, like, weren't that great. But then in another way, I'm kind of amazed that he could, like, write a novel and it could be, like, pretty much coherent when he was that fucked up. I'm like, shit, I know people that are, like, stone cold sober that couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it didn't compare to, say, like, The Stand.
Well, no.
Or The Shining. Or, some of those books are fucking masterpieces. I was really into The Stand. We haven't talked much about that, but I fucking love that book.
I need to reread that one of these days.
I
keep meaning to.
It was good.
Well, I need to get... I think the only version I have of it is the old paperback version. Yeah. And they've since released, like, the unabridged, big-ass doorstop version. And that's the one I need to get.
And I really enjoyed Thinner. And I really enjoyed fucking The Dark Half. I thought that was really good.
I really liked that book.
Yeah.
Actually, the movie's pretty good, too. It's kind of...
The villain was from Mississippi, man.
It's kind of cheesy, but I was kind of into it.
Yeah.
We might have reviewed that not too long ago now that I'm thinking about it.
Dark Tower and the Gunslinger stuff that I read was really good. And then Talisman was fucking great. Like I said, he only co-authored that.
I told you they did a sequel to that, right? Stephen King and Peter Straub, like years ago. It's called The Black House.
Oh, okay.
I actually just saw it in the bookstore the other day. It was years ago that came out. But I remember The Talisman. I don't think I ever read The Black House.
And I read it, and it was pretty good. Although I think I liked Christine better. Some of his early stuff was really
good. The book Christine is actually like really good.
Yeah, and Carrie was pretty good too.
And that's his first novel.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
He had written short stories prior to that, but that was his first published novel. All writers, it's like if their first novel that was published, that's not the first novel they wrote. I guarantee it.
I'd take Christine over Carrie.
I think Christine is better written.
Yeah.
Than Carrie, but like I said, Carrie was very early. in his career. I mean, Christine was pretty early too.
Plus the story, you know.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that early shit, like of his. Zach was saying that the first Pet Cemetery is so good. I mean, the book is awesome. I love the book of Pet Cemetery. That was for a while. Like that was my favorite Stephen King.
I don't think
book.
I read that one.
Oh, it's awesome.
I don't think I read it.
The reason that I liked it so much was because it was fucking vicious. I mean, just the fact that he just like imagined like the whole scene where he described that little kid getting like run over by the truck and like just the fucking, and I was just like, damn, this is fucking. It was a lot.
I also liked Salem's Lot.
I did as well,
good,
even though that was like his take on Dracula.
Yeah,
and he says that. He's like, I basically just took Dracula and wrote my own version of it.
I thought it was great.
But yeah, it came out really good. It came out really good.
It made for TV movies great too. Got it on
the Toby Hooper one, yeah.
Got it on Blu-ray too.
Yeah, I've seen that a bunch of times. And that's one of the best Stephen King adaptations.
Seen it again was good because I forgot at the very end they became vampire hunters. Were traveling the fucking world hunting.
They're gonna have a whole series now, like Kung Fu.
Yeah, I forgot that they left it open like that.
John Gore said writers and alcohol seem to go hand in hand. Well, the thing about that, look, I'm a writer. I'm not a drunk or anything. I do like a drink, obviously, but I think it's because anybody that's real into those kind of creative endeavors, particularly writing, because writing is so solitary. And a lot of people, if you're just kind of sitting around for hours and hours every day, just like inside your own head and coming up with shit all the time, it kind of wears on you after a while. It doesn't bother me because I'm kind of a solitary person anyway, so it doesn't get to me, I think, the way that it would maybe get to other people. But I see that. I can see how that would happen.
Victor Garcia, he said The Stand is my all-time favorite. Read it twice in high school. I'll tell you what, Victor. I think The Stand made me and you gay. I think that's how that shit happened.
Is this year coming out, Tom?
I'm coming out now.
Really?
I'm coming out.
Oh, I long suspected it. You're finally admitting
coming out, yeah. Me and Victor became gay listening, reading The Stand. Yeah. You know, somebody, I forgot who it was. Was it Louis Hernandez? He sent me The Stand remastered fucking Blu-ray.
It might have been, yeah.
And I think it might have been Louis, and it's fucking good. It was made for TV. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and they had a VHS copy up on YouTube for free to watch it, and I couldn't get through 20 minutes of it, how much it looked like shit. And I think it might have been Louis sent me for free a Blu-ray copy that's out, and I haven't seen that on any of the streaming services of The Stand. It was made for TV, had an all-star cast too.
Yeah, everybody was in that shit. I might have even been
Rob
in
Lowe
that.
was in it. Molly Ringwald was in it.
Yeah, I remember.
Dude who played Martin the Martian was in it.
Martin the Martian.
Had a fucking, and it's pretty close from what I can remember to the book.
I like The Stand, but like I said, I'm not. Tom loves like post-apocalyptic stuff, and sci-fi stuff. I like some of that stuff, but like I said, it's not my preferred. I'm more into like straight up horror. I love psychological horror, surrealist horror, haunted house shit, old school witchcraft shit. I like that kind of stuff.
See, look, man, Garcia, he's saying that there's a gay scene in both in The Stand and It. So that's
right.
That's how we got flipped.
Well, that explains
I'm gonna sue. I'm gonna sue for damages.
You're gonna sue for damages because it made you gay?
Made me gay.
I'm glad that you're finally admitting it, Tom. I'm just like glad that you're finally living your truth.
It's my coming out party.
I know. This is awesome. I'm very excited about it.
Fucking funny as fuck.
So who are you gonna are you gonna like get some dudes over here so I can like film some gay?
See now Jenny's trying to get a fucking devil's threesome going on.
Come on, let's get this started.
Jenny's looking for some man.
Let's get this started.
She's trying to get into a man sandwich.
Right. Or I could just lay back there in the bed and watch and like film it.
It's
and then
female
just like
fantasies,
watch it at my leisure.
Yeah.
Poe says, writing fiction, like acting, at least skirts possession sometimes. It does, kind of. I've noticed that when I've written stuff that I thought was some of my best stuff, you kind of go into a fugue state. Which is, like, for a while, I actually preferred to write by hand. So I would buy big notebooks, and because then you could almost do like automatic writing. Because sometimes, like, you know, you'd start writing and I'd be like, God, what the fuck? I don't know where I'm going with this story. Because I like have an idea, but then I'd be like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. But then if you just like stop thinking and then just kind of let like your hand move, and then like sometimes like you'll read it back and be like, you know what? That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's because you have the side of your brain doing it.
Right. So that's kind of what I started doing.
Same thing when I was getting into drawing.
Yeah.
I fucking sketch out these.
You have to like let it. You have to allow it.
I read a book on it first. Okay.
Yeah.
Drawing on the right.
Yeah,
side,
yeah.
right?
That's a very famous book.
Right. And what ends up happening is that once you learn the fucking technique of just like clicking over and shutting off your fucking the left side of your brain, so you're not doing any analytical thinking.
Like I have to stop.
You just allow the right side to do it, which is it's got a lot better spatial awareness. And then I'll be drawing, and I was doing female nudes, so I was drawing the faces, the bodies, everything, and no plan. I could just do it. And what was funny is I can remember starting, and then 45, 50 minutes later I was done, or starting to come to the end of it, and I can't remember what I did, but then there's just this beautiful drawing there.
Yeah, that's how I wrote some of my stories.
Man, how did I do that?
So it's weird
there's
because
like all this gestalt and movement in it, and fucking depth, and and I wasn't using any of the fucking mechanical cheating things where you're looking through the eye, you know, and trying. No, it was just all by hand. And that's just, I guess you can do that with literature too, huh?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that's what I mean. I think my best stories came about when because I mean, you know me, you know what I'm like. I'm a classic overthinker. I have horrible anxiety. I'm a perfectionist. So I had a long thing, and this is crazy, and this is kind of going back to the Stephen King thing like we were talking about before. Because for a long time, like, I've been writing horror stories since I can remember, since I knew how to write, because that was all I wanted to do. And because I was such a perfectionist growing up, I had this weird idea that it's like, well, if I write a story, it has to be perfect right out the gate, or it's not good enough. Like, I'm just going to throw it away. So I did that for like many, many years, and I kept not finishing things, or just be like, oh, that was not good enough, and I would just chuck it out or whatever. And then I read it took me like so many years to figure this out. I'm just like kind of embarrassed about it. But I read Stephen King's nonfiction book, which is called On Writing, which is kind of about his writing advice and like kind of a memoir and stuff like that. And that book, he was basically just like, well, just don't think about it. Just like, don't do an outline, don't do anything. Because I always try to do like outlines, because I was like, I need to know where I'm going with this story and everything like that. He's like, bullshit, don't do that. He's like, I don't do that. Now, some writers do. Some writers actually work better that way. But I discovered that I am not one of those writers. He's like, I don't plan anything. I just come up with a fucking situation and some characters. With like, I'm going to put these situations in this character, and then bam, I'm just going to go and see where it goes. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to try and direct it. I'm just going to let it organically just like go where it's going. And he's like, and sometimes I'm surprised, you know, because I didn't expect it to go that way. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try that out, because I'd never done that before. I always try to like outline everything like down to the last chapter and stuff. And I tried doing it like that, and it was much better. Because then that way, I just could turn my brain off, and I would just be like, okay, I have an idea about XYZ. This is a story that I want to write about. And it's like, just stop thinking and just, like, write. And my stories came out much, much better. And like I said, and they wouldn't... And then sometimes I would be surprised, like, how they ended up. I'm like, oh, I didn't expect it to go in that direction. All right, we're going in that direction now. And you just let it go in that direction. Like, don't try to force it into, like I said, some people do seem to do better like with outlines and stuff, but I'm not one of those people.
John Gora said that the dude from RoboCop that played the yuppie guy was in the Stand movie. Yeah, that's right. Those were two good roles that actor played. I don't know that actor's name, but in his day, man, he got some interesting roles. In RoboCop, he played the OCP guy who got fucking RoboCop's contract, his contract fucking going. the RoboCop project going. He ended up getting killed by Clarence Boddicker. Put a grenade, shot him up, shot his legs out from underneath him, kicked his coat cores out of his house, and threw a fucking grenade on him and blew his ass up. And that was the first time they ever showed DVD was in that scene. Dude took out the little fucking disc and put it in, and it played on the TV.
Ooh, futuristic.
Like, wow, it's futuristic shit. And in The Stand, he played Randall Flagg, the devil. He played Randall Flagg's right-hand man. I think his name was Poke, if I remember correctly. Poke something or other. That was his criminal name. He was doing a life in prison.
Why do you think they called him Poke?
He was pokerizing people. So they said
that was not where my brain went.
Yeah,
I'll admit.
Pokerizing. And then he got life in prison for killing a guy in a fucking robbery. And while I was in prison, he saved some rats and some foods, and everybody else starved out. And he was the last survivor on his cell block, locked in that fucking cell with all those dead bodies. He was eating a rat, and the fucking devil appeared to him and said, "If you pledge yourself to me, I'll let you out of there." And he let him out, and he became the devil's right hand man. That was a great scene. That was a good character too. Creepy. He was scared of the devil, but he served him, and he ended up went from a piece of shit to a criminal mastermind. Fucking, he helped run the city and shit for the devil. It's a good book, real good.
Yeah, Camp Guy said Betty Edwards' Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, one of the most famous art books in history. Yeah, it was. Her theory was that anybody could learn to draw, just like we all learn to read. We focus more on reading than drawing. See some of the before and after self-portraits by untrained artists in her drawing class. They're posted on the internet. Yeah, and I think that that's true of any, like I said, any artistic endeavor. And I have to kind of, like, constantly tell myself this all the time, is that you really have to, like, not... It works better most of the time if you don't think about it too hard. Like, if you just kind of, like, let it naturally. And, I mean, for sure, I found myself writing a lot more, and my shit was coming out a lot better, and I was actually finishing stuff when I stopped thinking about it. And just kind of like
you kind of go into a trance.
Let it happen. Yeah. It is a little like it's not like like a mystical. It's nothing like that. You know, I wouldn't go that far, but it is kind of like you get into a zone.
You're not checking yourself. You're just allowing it to come
out.
You're
just allowing it, because the thing about it, and like I said, this is something that actually reading Stephen King's On Writing like actually got me to stop doing, was that I felt like it had to be, like I said, perfect first time out. And he's just like, fuck that, just write it. It's like, you can fix it later. You know what I mean? It's like, if you fuck something up, if you like contradict yourself or something, it's like, it's not a big deal. Just like write it all out. It's like, just go back and read it and you can fix it later on. It's fine. It's fiction. You're just making it up. So it's like, and I was like, oh yeah, duh. Because I was like sitting there thinking, well, if it's not right, like the first time out, it's like, it's not, I have to throw it away. I don't know why I thought that. But I thought that for like many years. And that's why I never finished anything. But... And honestly, like, what I started doing, I've been working on a novel for a really long time. Just, I haven't had time to work on it, like, the last couple of years. But I've had the idea for a long time, and I'm still going to finish it, goddammit. I'm, like, 20,000 words in, so I'm not throwing that out. And it's good, like, what I've written so far. I was reading it back over, and I'm just like, okay, I definitely have to finish this, because it's awesome. But, I started getting into, because we've been talking about, like, AI and stuff. And I started getting into some of the apps that like help you with the AI writing and stuff. And I was kind of curious to see, because there are some AI generators that will generate a whole, I mean, technically you can generate like a whole novel or a whole screenplay or something like that. And I just wanted to see what would happen. What?
Read the comments. Go ahead. I just read a comment. I just fucking started laughing.
What?
Talking about transcendental meditation and going gay in the bathhouse.
Is a bathhouse?
They're in there fighting each other.
In a bathhouse, your mind is not the only thing getting blown. Yeah, that sounds like something that should be on a movie poster.
Yeah.
But yes. So
okay, go ahead. Good.
So I wanted to see what it would do. So I gave it a prompt, like for a horror novel idea that I had, and it wasn't like super complicated or anything like that. It was just like a couple sentences. I was like, write me a novel about this. And so it did, like, it came up with all the characters. It came up with an outline, which was pretty decent. Like, I read through it. I'm like, yeah, that could work. And then like I let it write like each chapter out. And then when I was reading it back, I was like the individual paragraphs and stuff like that are fine, are like well written. But one thing I noticed that it does, and I've heard this from other writers that use AI to help out their shit, like, you know, to get past writer's block and stuff. And they're just like, one thing that I've noticed is particularly across if you're working on like a longer work, is it will repeat itself. So I'm reading the first chapter, and the first scene, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not great. It's a little overwrought. Like I would kind of tone it down a little bit, because it's very much like a pulpy, you know, airport type of novel, that kind of thing. And I was just like, that's not my style. So I was like, so I'd have to tone that down a little bit. But I was like, but it's okay. It's like, it's well written. It's grammatically correct. It's, you know, there's some good shit going on in there. But then I noticed, like, so the first scene was good. I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. But then I noticed that the next scene, I was like, well, this scene is pretty much just like the first scene, except slightly different. Like, worded slightly different. So I noticed that, like, the first 3 or 4 scenes of the first chapter were essentially, like, the same scene over and over again, just, like, with different dialogue. But it was kind of, like, the same information that it was imparting, and I'm just like, okay.
Okay, the show hit 2 hours. You want to go ahead and shut it down?
Well, no, but okay.
Well, you want to watch a movie?
Yeah, I guess we could.
Okay.
Okay.
I was laughing what they were talking about. It was like, what was it? Somebody asked, does transcendental meditation make you gay? And then they're talking about transcendental meditation in a bathhouse, only your spirit is getting blown or your mind is getting blown. Transcendental meditation to make you gay, because you'll transcend the body, and it'll just be souls. So it can't be gay in the fucking spirit world. It's just spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaylin Higgins says, automatic writing works best for people who have an innate sense of cohesion and practicality, which I do, actually. Most messy writers, and I've met a few, need outlines and direction. Yeah, some people do. Like I said, it's just, I was trying to force myself into the outline thing, because I felt like that I was always taught that's what you were supposed to do. But after Stephen King said, man, fuck that, I don't ever do that, I was like, maybe I should try not doing that. And I found that it worked much better for me. But like I said, I know it does work better for other people. Like, they need a goal to work toward. Like, it's like, I need to know the story is going this, like, toward this end or whatever. But it's like, I don't work very well like that. Hey, there's Pookie. Yeah. Poe says, so AI is better for a novella, or well, I don't even know about that. You still need a person to direct the story. Because when you do AI, if you just have it generate the story, even if you give it like a decent prompt and stuff like that, it doesn't know, like, it'll mix characters up, it'll like come up with shit that doesn't have anything to do with your original shit. Like, it'll, you know what I mean? It does like weird stuff still. So you still need like a lot of human direction. One thing that AI I found that is good for is if you already have like this super detailed idea and you already have like a bunch of stuff written, it will help you, because if you have enough in there, it learns your style to a degree. So you can be like, oh, you got to this one paragraph and you're just like stuck. I don't know what's going to happen next. And then you can like click and it'll give you like ideas and like in your style more or less. And you can kind of like take pieces like, oh yeah, that's kind of a good idea or something like that. But just generating stuff from nothing or just from like an idea, it doesn't seem to be able to do that all that well yet. Like, especially like in a longer, like a more complex, most of the people I've kind of work
that are working on it said that you're not going to really see much amazing things out of that kind of AI until about 4 or 5 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, it's impressive for getting through writer's block. It's impressive if you already have a lot of stuff written and you can put it in there so it learns what your style is like, so it can kind of help you out and like give you suggestions, like maybe you want to go this direction and that kind of sounds like something you would have written. So it's good for that, but just generating stuff from scratch, not so much. Like, the writing is good. It's all grammatically correct. It's, you know, written well. It's, you know, each individual paragraph could have come from like a best-selling novel, but when you put them all together like in aggregate, it makes sense, but it contradicts itself. It goes off in weird directions that you didn't expect. Like, it mixes characters up. It does shit like that.
It's gonna have to be human guided.
And that's kind of like the way that a lot of writers are using it, because that's kind of what you have to. You can't just come up with like a whole novel that's publishable.
They say that shit writes great legal writs too.
Well, yeah, but that's
really
not
good for the law.
Right. I can see that.
But it takes human. But it
right.
takes human intervention.
Everything does. Everything does.
Yeah. But I don't think it'll always be like that. 10 years from now, it'll probably be pretty damn good. If you have legal trouble, you'll be able to download a fucking app, and you have a fucking lawyer in your fucking palm of your hand writing writs for you and making motions in court. I could see that.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing about it, like I said, it's another thing that I noticed, and I've kind of alluded to this before, but it's just very repetitive. One thing I noticed too that it did in the novel that I had it generate, like, it was a cool idea. Like, I came up with the idea, and then it came up with like its own ideas, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. You know what I mean? But then, like, when it was writing the scenes, like, it would repeat scenes, but like different. You know, like, the dialogue was different, but it was essentially like the same thing. Like, it was saying the same thing. Like, it was very repetitive. Or it would have different characters like saying the exact same thing, like, at different times in the story. So it wasn't real good at like differentiating characters from one another. They all kind of sounded alike. That was another thing that I noticed, because the one that I generated was like a family, so it was like a mom and a dad and like a couple kids, and all of them sounded, when they talked, it all sounded like the same person talking. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was that. So you definitely do need, because I was curious. It was kind of like an experiment. I wanted to see what would happen. But it's much better if you have a lot of your own shit in there and you just kind of like use it to help you out. Like, if you can't think of like something to put next, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I don't really have an idea of where I want to go from here. Give me some ideas. Like, give me a couple paragraph ideas. Like, oh, I like that, or I like that part, and I can use that. And you don't have to use like what they wrote. You can kind of change it around. It just like kind of gives you ideas. You know what I mean? Let's see. Can't Guy said, I always had trouble getting my son to generate something original out of his own head when I was helping him with his English composition class. He just didn't have the the love of reading and writing that I had. He's good at math and other stuff, just lazy when it comes to thinking and putting something down and writing. Too many video games and not enough reading. Yeah, I think that kind of is a problem. I don't know if video games per se are the problem, but I mean, I really love to read, and I grew up reading, and I think that's a lot better. I don't know, it just exercises your imagination a lot better.
People aren't developing the same way we do.
Because you have to picture everything. You have to build worlds in your head. Right. And I think that's like a lot better. Yeah.
The younger generations, they're not like us, you know, if you're Gen X or older. Millennials are closer to Gen X than some of these real young people. Because we just didn't grow up with all these damn distractions. We had internet and everything, but we didn't have AI.
I mean, I didn't have internet until I was already out of high school.
Yeah, we were already grown, yeah. And, like, we had video games, but video games weren't immersive as they are now. And we didn't have social media, you know, or dating apps and shit. You had to go meet women in the wild. You had to have game.
And you had to dart them on the Serengeti.
Fucking right. You had to
drag them back to your
You had to
cave.
have a fucking mouth game. You had to know how to talk. You had to learn how to dress. And, you know, they're not really growing up that way. They don't even go to clubs, from what I understand. It's evidently a lot of them don't even go to clubs.
They probably can't afford to.
In Florida, though, we're still a club scene. And there are young people in the clubs, and young guys in the clubs, and they're aggressive. They're going for women, grab Jenny's ass. I got to fight them. And it's just, you know, and they're in their 20s. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of people
like
still
it. But according to what I'm seeing online up north in California, it's dead. You know, they're not like, but the South is the last bastion of fucking tits and ass and alcohol. You know, this place hasn't changed much. It's a resort area, and the guys that grew up here are aggressive, and the girls the same way. And I hang out at Starbucks here locally and watch people of all different generations go in there and get fucking Starbucks shit. and we still got physically fit young dudes and physically fit athletic females and stuff. Obesity isn't a huge problem here. You got fat people, but this is the older people, and a lot of them don't seem to be from here. You know, like when we went to the movie theater, I was like, God damn, we're the only people that here aren't fat. But I got the feeling that they weren't. That they, like you said, they were retirees. When you say,
yeah. I mean, there's not. Don't get me wrong. I was born in Florida.
Yeah, you got fat people,
and there's a lot of fat people that were born here. So
right, but you still got a lot of fit, good-looking people here. You know. So I don't really know what's going on in the rest of the United States. I haven't really been out of here in about 10 years now.
I heard the fittest people in the United States are actually in Colorado.
Probably something like that, yeah.
I don't know if that's still the case, but that's what I heard.
But it's still, you know, having left the South and coming back to it, this still feels like the South to me. Especially in the more rural areas. Like where we are now, it feels like the South.
Well, we live in a pretty rural.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's pretty farmy.
Well, compared to Mississippi, this is the suburbs.
Like right across the street from our neighborhood is like a huge farm.
Yeah, although those are all going. They were all being sold.
Well, I imagine that they will build it out. Well, just because where we met and where we lived in Sanford, when we first moved there,
that was rural.
It was pretty rural, but then like by the time we left, it had all
suburbs.
Like built up.
Yeah, it's gonna be like that here in 10 years.
Victor said I was one of 2 kids in my small rural high school who had internet at home in 1996.
Yeah.
That was right about, I think we got internet in, it was 95 or 96.
Yeah, I loved 90s internet, man. I loved it. You felt like you were really getting away with some shit.
But like I said, I was out of high school.
Yeah.
I graduated in 1990, so we didn't have internet in high school.
I guess it was around 97. I fucking was hanging out with my first wife. This is before I married her. I went online and went onto an online Hot Topic store that had an amazing selection and bought us a bunch of clothes. And in those days, clothes were still expensive. It wasn't like Shein where you can get a $5 shirt. I must have spent $300 on fucking on clothes and got all this fucking goth clothes delivered to the fucking house using a fucking ATM card. And I thought I was in fucking Running Man or something, some futuristic movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I couldn't believe that I didn't have to go to a mall to get that, because that's the way it used to be. And then when that shit got delivered and I saw his clothes, I looked at that. I thought of that shopping mall, and I was like, "What the fuck is it? What the fuck does that? What purpose does that serve now?" And I called it because fucking decades later, all those fucking malls went out of fucking business. Online shopping.
Although it's crazy because I mean, the mall we go to, it's not a dead mall. I wouldn't call it that. The Lake Square Mall, which is the closest one to our house, which is still 18 miles away.
Yeah.
It's not a dead mall, but it's because most of the stores are occupied. But it's
they're not traditional mall stores, though.
Bustling, yeah.
It's shit like barbershops, pet shops.
Well, there's a PetSmart in there. There's a Books A Million in there.
There's a
movie theater.
There's a police station in there.
That's in pretty much every mall nowadays.
Yeah.
There's a Bath and Body Works.
I think there's a Recruiter's fucking station for fucking...
There's one of those in every mall nowadays, too.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not even nowadays, because I remember the mall in Daytona had a Marines recruitment center since I was a kid. So that's pretty common.
Used to have fucking, like, what Hickory Farms? Remember that? See's Candy. Remember that?
Yeah, we didn't have one of those. We did have a Hickory Farms. It wasn't a storefront though. They would always do like a booth thing in the middle, but they would only do that around holidays.
And they'd have at least 2 different competing record stores. Those don't exist.
Yeah, our mall had Camelot.
Right.
And then later it had Record Town.
Yeah.
Record Town. I worked there in the 90s, the late 80s or early 90s.
And then they had a bunch of fucking cheesy fucking clothing shops and some trinket shops, and none of that's really in there anymore. Those don't sell in malls anymore.
I noticed that a lot of malls, like our mall when I was growing up in Daytona, it had like a fucking million shoe stores.
And most of the department stores are gone out of that mall. They're closed down. There's no Sears.
FYE, Spencer Gifts. Yeah.
There are no Sears.
There's still an FYE in the Altamont Mall.
Yeah.
Which actually still looks like it does, because it's always crowded when we go. Not crowded, but there's always like a lot of customers in there. Well, they have cool shit. They have... I bought like a ton of t-shirts in there. I buy DVDs in there. Like when they have box sets of shit.
In that mall, the most popular things are the bookstore, the AMC theater, the food court, the pet store.
Yeah.
So I think that's what.
And
the barbershop. I mean, the barbershop was in there. It was fucking crowded.
That barbershop is always like it's an old school barbershop.
Yeah.
That's always full.
Yeah.
Every time we go in there. And the PetSmart is usually like pretty bustling. That's where we adopted our new kitty from.
Yeah.
But she came from the Hoffmeyer shelter.
Yeah.
But they had just brought her over that morning, and she was at PetSmart. That's where we got her from. But that Books A Million is always like pretty busy.
Yeah. I noticed though that the inventory isn't turning over.
Well, a lot of people don't buy books. Yeah. I do.
Well, all the trinkets though, and all the little fucking toys and the collectibles and the dolls and shit that they had. I don't call them dolls.
I kind of want. Here's the thing. Like they have Trivial Pursuit, the horror edition, and I want that so bad. Well, they have like the big board game version, which is like $50, but then they have like the little just the cards without the board and everything, and I think that's just like $20. And it's like I kind of want that, but I'm just like, if I bought this, Tom wouldn't play with me because I would just win. Because he wouldn't know any of the shit.
Yeah,
so it's
it wouldn't even get into that.
Right. So it's like so it's like that wouldn't be any fun for him. Yeah. But it was just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I should buy it anyway, and then we could just play it on the show. That would be fun. But because I kind of want it. I have like some apps on my phone that are horror, like horror trivia games on my phone, but I'm really good at them as long as it doesn't go too much into... The gap in my horror knowledge, I'm going to say, is probably like mid-90s to late 2000s. Like, I saw a lot of horror movies in that time period, but a lot of those horror movies, I just kind of like checked out of the shit. And I was like, never mind. I'm just going to watch the old shit. Like, because a lot of the shit seemed like it was just like remakes of old stuff, or everything was just kind of like Scream ripoffs after 1996. And I just kind of lost interest. Or it was just like a big CGI fest. So there's kind of like a big gap in my, so like that whole like I Know What You Did Last Summer and all that kind of stuff, like that came out of the 90s. I didn't see a lot of those, or if I did, I don't even remember them like enough to answer questions about them. And I kind of feel like the same thing happened in the early 2000s. Like everything was just kind of like remakes, and I didn't bother with a lot of them. So there's kind of a gap. I did notice when I was doing some of the horror games on my phone that anytime the question was about something that came out like from 2000 to 2009 or something like that, I was just like, I've heard of that movie, but I've never seen it, so I don't know. You know what I mean? Because like I just didn't bother with it. Let's see. Yeah, B. Dalton's. Yeah, the mall where I grew up in Daytona, we also had 2 bookstores. We had Walden Books and B. Dalton's. And yeah, I used to spend a lot of time in there. I do like the bigger bookstores in the mall, but it just seems like this mall, we haven't walked through the whole thing. Like, I haven't really noticed. We just basically go in the bookstore or the pet store, which are like right across from each other, and then like the movie theater. But it looks like most of the storefronts are occupied, but it doesn't really have any huge anchor. Well, PetSmart's an anchor. Books A Million is an anchor.
The reason why we're talking about this because we like the Dead Mall videos and like Dan Bell, and I was learning mallology, which is like the science of a mall.
And Ace's Adventures. What
keeps them all? It's just what keeps them all alive. And it's just kind of funny, being our age, we're kind of nostalgic for the old style of merchandising, how they used to sell things. Because there was a whole culture built around that. It's funny to see all that vanish.
Well, it's interesting from
how progress happens.
From an archaeological
it's like an archaeology site
standpoint.
Right.
I don't have any particular. I'm not a super nostalgic person. Like, you know, I like a lot of shit from the 80s, like music and movies and stuff like that, but I'm not kind of one of those people. It's like, oh, shit sucks nowadays. I wish we could go back to the old days. Like, I would never, I'm not like that. But
no, it's easier now. Buying things is a lot.
That's
easier.
what I mean. It's like I wouldn't go back. There was some shit that was a lot cooler back then. Like I said, and I will argue that a lot of the music was good and like a lot of the movies were good and stuff. But I'm not gonna say that it's like, oh, there's not good shit nowadays, because there is. Like I've seen some amazing fucking movies nowadays.
What you have now,
it was a mix back then too.
What y'all kids are taking for fucking granted is the cornucopias. How do I say it?
Cornucopia.
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 Your choices are fucking unlimited with online shopping.
I mean,
anything.
yeah, you're really lucky.
Yeah, lucky.
We couldn't do that.
We couldn't do that back then.
We wished we could have done that.
Yeah, because there were so many clothes.
Because I wish there was like so much shit that I wanted and I couldn't find it, or I couldn't afford it, or nobody made it.
You wouldn't
or
know
something.
what a band sounded like.
Yeah.
You had to buy the album first, or you had to hear it from your friend. And then you would go to the record store and try to discover new music. And you're taking a risk. It was like $20 for an album.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money.
Sometimes 10. Was it $20 or was it 10?
I'm trying to think how much the...
It might have been 10.
I remember... What I remember most in the early 90s when I worked at a record store, I remember our CD prices going up from $15.99 to $17.99, and everyone freaking the fuck out about it and yelling at me about it like I had any fucking, like, I was like, yeah, it's me, I changed the prices, sorry. What the fuck? It's like I make fucking minimum wage in this shit. Leave me alone. People are assholes.
Discovering new music, you could go on YouTube,
right,
and lift a track.
Like for free and like listen, it's like, oh, I like that. I'm gonna go see that band or whatever. Yeah,
you had to fucking put your money where your mouth was. You had to fucking place that bet. You had to lay that. You had to lay that fucking Franklin, or was it a Benjamin? To the 20. Who's on the 20?
Who's on the 20?
I think it was Benjamin. I think it's Ben Franklin, isn't it?
I thought Ben Franklin. What, Ben Franklin?
So Jackson.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure Andrew Jackson.
I think. Yeah, you laid that fucking 20. Jackson down for fucking. To get the fucking album.
So Ben Franklin's on the 100, isn't he?
Yeah, 100, yeah. And then you take the album home and it fucking sucks.
And you're like,
oh, shit.
Wah,
wah, wah, wah, wah. Yeah, you know. Yeah.
True. Oscar is here. Hey, Oscar, what's up? The 90s was not a good time for horror. It was not. Honestly, at the time, I thought it was just me, but in hindsight, yeah. And I'm not saying that, like, some good fucking movies didn't come out in the 90s, because they did.
I have a soft spot for the 90s. People don't rate the fucking too hard on the 90s.
No, well, the 90s, because the over... Yeah, and I'm not saying that. I'm not arguing that at all. There was good shit.
Star came out.
No, well, as far as, like, horror movies go.
Yeah, okay. Well,
there was some
Blair
good...
Witch was kind of a sensation in the 90s.
Well, that was 99. Yeah, that was late 90s.
I guess so, yeah.
So, I mean, there was good shit that came out in the 90s. I'm not saying that. But one thing I will say is that the overarching impression that I got, at least from a horror movie standpoint, like from that decade, was that it was just very concerned with being derivative, particularly after 1996, after Scream came out. And actually, I saw Scream in the theater, and I quite enjoyed it, because it was like an updated slasher movie, but it was also kind of... It was a slasher movie in its own right, and it was, like, gory and entertaining, but it was also kind of parodying it, like, in a really clever way. But then after that came out, then we got, like, a whole rash of, like, slasher ripoffs, and they just, like, were dumb. They just, like, weren't that. And then, like, the late 90s and early 2000s, it was just, like, all remakes of old shit. And I was just kind of like... And everything, like, was CGI'd to fucking death. One thing that I'll point out is, like, the thing that I hated about the 90s was they remade The Haunting, which is probably, I mean, in my top 5 favorite horror movies ever. This is based on The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. They made the movie. Robert Wise directed it. It came out in 1963. One of the quintessential examples of horror being scary without showing anything. It's genius. It doesn't show anything, but it's still fucking creepy. And it was great. And then they remade it in the 90s with fucking Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I think Owen Wilson was in it. Liam Neeson might have been in it. Lily Taylor was in it. And I went to see it in the theater, against my better judgment, and it was awful. They just CGI'd the fuck out of it. They showed everything. They just had like all these, and I was just like, what the? You just missed the entire fucking point of the book and of the story, and of this is not scary. It's just stupid and ridiculous, and everything is just everything had to have a million like CGI demons in it, and I was just over it. It's not scary.
Well, 90s, I got a soft spot for the fashion, for the music that came out. The 90s fashion, especially what they called alternative fashion, was very good. You had fucking boots made by Destroy and Pentagaglin. You had certain... I liked the female fashion because they still, even in the 90s, they didn't offer much for guys. You were really kind of you were scraping up trying to put something cool together. But I just remember the girls, man, fucking how good they looked back then. You had looks that today would probably be called fairy core. It was like what Courtney Love would wear, or Mazzy Star. They were kind of like these dresses with patterns on them. How would you describe them, Jen? Fucking with fucking velour type boots that were like gothy looking boots, and fucking what were those shoes that they wore? Fluvogs. And it was kind of like something Switchblade Symphony would wear, or Courtney Love and Mazzy Star.
Well, they had a lot of those kind of like baby doll dresses, stuff like that.
Yeah, fucking Babes in Toyland, that bad. They had a certain look. I thought it looked great.
I did. That was one of the things I did like about the music of the night. I did like the whole Riot Girl thing.
Yeah.
I did like all of that.
Yeah.
I did like the shoegaze
Shoegazer,
thing.
and then
I like that.
And then you had, even in Mississippi, just these fucking hot, slutty fucking rave girls, and with Jenkos and belly shirts and tongue rings and belly button rings, and fucking you never knew what their hair was going to look like, and it was just a good time. And I remember, during that time I was in my 20s, late 20s, and it felt like at the time that the entire world was coming together, and that the world that I wished was going to happen was starting to happen. That's what it felt like. It's like, oh man, the fashion's getting better. Fucking even music is getting better. And then like even the pop music was pretty good. And I wouldn't buy it, but I was listening to it. Like, remember Prodigy came out?
Yeah.
Fucking smack my bitch up and shit. And
they still play that at Mannequin.
Yeah, sometimes. and then even some of their real fucking shit that I thought was mainstream, like Beastie Boys, started to sound real good from like Intergalactic.
Yeah.
Remember that? It was still very mall goth, though. You know what I mean? In a certain way. You had you had the first few seasons of fucking what was the name of that damn cartoon? South Park. Yeah. South Park was out. It was just a good time. It was a happy time. I liked the 90s. It was a time of mystery too. The internet was out. You could get on the internet and find new shit. And the internet wasn't very big back then. It wasn't mainstream. Like your mom couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Your grandma definitely couldn't do it. Nowadays, anybody could surf around. Wasn't like that back then.
Well, I mean, nowadays you see fucking 80-year-olds with fucking smartphones.
Right, so. Yeah, they can get around inside the internet. Not back in these days.
Well, the thing about it is that... the thing that I didn't like about the 90s... In general, like I said, I'm not saying like everything that came out in the 90s sucks, because obviously that's not true. That's not true of any decade. But the thing I didn't like about the 90s was that a lot of the culture seemed very try-hard. You know what I mean? And I don't like... try hard. I don't like when people are like trying to like pay attention to me. It was very much like that.
I remember the younger people.
Everything is like extreme.
Yeah.
And I was just like, please stop it. No one wants to pay attention to you.
I was a little bit older than you during that time, so I was like late 20s, mid to late 20s, and like people in their late teens kind of seemed that way to me. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like everyone's like, we're so crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you're not.
Yeah, but I wasn't really paying attention to them. I was only paying attention to like people my own age. You know what I mean? Like mid 20s to late 20s. That's who was in the clubs.
It's like you're not that crazy. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Mansonites were showing up.
That's what I mean. It's like I said, that whole thing was just like very, very try hard.
Yeah, if you guys know what a Mansonite is, those are the fans of Marilyn Manson.
Or the spooky kids, as we called them back in the old days.
Yeah. Who? Marilyn Manson's
And we're like, aw, aren't they darling?
Yeah, he's from Florida, and he's a friend of a DJ.
Good old Brian Warner. That was his name.
Yeah.
Brian Warner.
From around here. But I still liked the era though. I liked it.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of like try hard shit. I don't like it.
Yeah, but the goth scene was great during that time.
Some of the music was good. I did like a lot of the goth rock at the time. Not as much as I liked the 80s, shit. But well, no, I haven't been since.
I wasn't gonna be like a raver or anything, but I liked that they were around. They had their own thing going on, you know.
Yeah, that was a thing for a minute, wasn't it? Gravers.
Yeah, ravers. And
which
gravers.
Was kind of like a goth version
raver.
of which.
Yeah.
So every now and then you go to the goth club and there would be that one person that had the big pants and like spinning the glow sticks around.
Yeah.
And everyone was like,
"What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Here
we are with this asshole again. You always had that one person.
Hot Topic invented that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I was not a fan.
Yeah.
I was not a fan. But yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I didn't like
Melissa
the 90s.
was involved in that. She was a Hot Topic.
I know, you told me.
My friend was named Melissa Lavoie. She's from Mississippi, and she was a manager of the Hot Topic in Gulfport, Mississippi. And she was on a big fucking call with like some other managers from the regions, and they were talking about, we're going to take rave and mix it with goth, because they were selling both of those clothing lines out of the Hot Topic. And they were all laughing. And these are like goth people running Hot Topic. And they're like, yeah,
it's like,
we're going to make those big Jinkos, but we're going to make goth versions of them. And they're going, this is going to be ridiculous.
Because goths are kind of assholes like that.
That's how they were trolling. They trolled the fuck out of people.
We are kind of assholes.
They're like, we're going to make fucking Jenkos, and they're going to be goth versions with fucking bondage straps.
But we kind of shot ourselves in the dick with that whole situation.
Well,
people took it way too seriously.
And it was a woman that came up with that idea. It was Michelle's regional manager. She managed all of everything from the South and on the fucking East Coast. And she called it, she goes, we think that will sell. And then they even ran a damn contest to, like, if you get a customer, dress them up this way and take a picture. Whoever's got the best, who's got the most ridiculous looking customer will give you $1,000 fucking bonus. It was just fucking, so they were they were using fucking regular people as fucking, oh man, they were trolling people back then.
I don't think people realized it though. They obviously
trolling.
Didn't realize that.
Hot Topic made that look as a because they were smart. They knew that people would buy that, as tasteless as that was. They knew that they would buy it. They did. They made that a thing.
Yeah,
and then
they
you started seeing that in the clubs
in spades. Because man, that was a whole aesthetic.
Like, you only knew the meaning that Hot Topic had when they came up with that shit.
They probably still wear that shit.
It's probably still wear that anyway. Yeah.
John Gore said, "Alien Sex Fiend kind of created that neon glow goth aesthetic first." Yeah, you're right about that, but they didn't come at it the same way though, because Alien Sex Fiend were weird as fuck.
Yeah.
And they just kind of did that because they were kind of very into the whole psychedelic angle. So I think they did it just tangentially because of that. But
Hot Topic had a different take on it. The goth scene was pretty big. They sold clothes for the goth scene. They also sold clothes to the rave scene, and those two scenes didn't get along. They were pretty much the opposite.
Yeah.
So they said, well, we'll merge them into the same thing.
Yeah. And meanwhile, like, people like us that have been around since the 80s are just like, or the 70s are just been like, what are you doing? Like, that's not allowed. We don't like those people.
And you started seeing people that were fucking 5 years younger than us showing up in those outfits. A graver.
And all of us old farts were just sitting there going,
the fuck? Yeah, we're listening to...
Oh, these kids today.
We're wearing fucking velvet fucking shirts and fucking dresses and shit. PVC pants.
And then we're like looking at these, like, what are they even doing? What are they even doing?
Yeah, we're still on the interview with the vampire.
Well, the weird thing about it was that they were buying a lot of the music that was so a lot of this, like, the kids, they'd have like all these piercings in their face and like they'd wear but then they were listening to like Blink 182 and I'm just like, what the fuck are you? But do you even know what you're doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's not right. They're just like listening to like pop punk.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah.
What are you even doing? What is your thing? I don't get it. But yeah. So that's the thing. I just kind of feel like that the 90s to me was like a decade long shit like that. Like just me going, what are you doing? I don't understand. But yeah. Poe says, is that a coffin-shaped gem? I guess he's talking about maybe that? Yes, it is. It's just like a coffin-shaped ring. And then that one's kind of like, what do you call that? Like spiky kind of. And then that one's like little razor blades. And then that one's like a little snake. I just get these like cheap in like sets. You know what I mean? They got little skulls and all that kind of shit on it. Poe said, hey, Debbie Gibson meshed with the circle jerks okay. Yeah, that did kind of work out. I was surprised. I didn't expect that to work out, but it kind of did. So, you know. All right. So Tom seems to be going quiet, so I guess we're going to...
Been off for a long time.
Do you want to go watch Poltergeist?
Yeah, you hungry?
Yeah, kind
I
of.
got more of that Thai curry down there.
Ooh, we should get some more of that. He made like a really good Thai curry. What even did you put in that?
Well, I did put peanut butter in there.
Well, I could tell.
Yeah.
That's why it was so good.
It was yellow curry paste, Thai yellow curry
Oh,
paste.
see, that's my favorite.
And I put about
the curry paste that comes in that little yellow package, the little yellow.
Yeah,
thing.
and I got vegetables out of the garden. The onions did come out of the garden, though. Bought those. And then chicken. And then I put about a cup. I made a big vat of it. Put a cup of fucking peanut butter in that bitch.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's kind of my favorite one that you do. That curry with the peanut butter in it.
Yeah, I put about a cup of that shit.
Because it's like not super hot, but it's like really nice and savory, and it's got like potatoes, like sweet potatoes and shit like that. All right, so we're gonna shut it down. So we'll be back on Monday talking about a movie. I don't know which movie it's gonna be like. It'll just be whatever we watch over the weekend, which we haven't decided yet. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. Hopefully you guys have had a good time hanging out with us tonight, getting drunk and talking about random bullshit. So we'll see you again on Monday evening. Good night.